Hello, everyone, and welcome to the place where shadows whisper and nightmares softly breathe. So close your eyes, take a slow breath. I know you use this video to fall asleep, so before that, like the video and subscribe to the channel. Also, where you from and what time are you watching? Let's get comfortable and relax. I never thought I'd be one of those people you hear on late-night radio shows, whispering their horror stories like they're afraid the thing is still listening. I always thought they were making it up. That is, until it happened to me. Now, I don't care if you believe me. I just need to say it out loud. Maybe then it'll leave me alone. Maybe .it started 2 years ago, and it's never really ended. I was driving back from a friend's house, middle of nowhere, around 2 in the morning. I took the back roads like always, winding stretches of blacktop flanked by dense woods, the kind that feels like it swallows your headlights. There's a stretch of that road with no street lights, no houses, nothing but trees pressing in close on both sides like they're watching you. That's where I saw it.at first. I thought it was an animal, something large just off the shoulder. But it stood upright. Human, or human-shaped. It didn't move when my headlights hit it, just stood there, pale, naked, long arms, head cocked too far to the side, like a broken doll. I slowed down, unsure if someone needed help, but then, I swear to God, its mouth opened wider than it should have, like unhinging a jaw. Not screaming, smiling. I didn't stop. I hit the gas and sped past it. When I glanced in the rearview mirror, it was gone. I tried to shake it off. I didn't tell anyone, not that night, not the next day. I didn't want to sound crazy, but the next night, I started hearing scratching at my window. Just gentle, like fingernails on glass. I live on the second floor. I tried to ignore it. The next night, it wasn't scratching, it was tapping. Slow, rhythmic, deliberate. When I finally got the courage to look, there was nothing there. But the window was fogged up like someone had been breathing on it. That's when the dream started. Always the same one. I'm running through those same woods, barefoot, can't see anything but fog. Something is chasing me, whispering in a voice that sounds just like mine, but wrong. Like it's mimicking me, mocking. I wake up soaked in sweat, heart racing, sometimes with bruises on my legs, dirt under my nails, like I'd actually been out there. I set up a camera in my room. Just one of those cheap motion-activated things. When I checked the footage the next morning, I saw myself sleepwalking, standing in front of the window, talking. But I wasn't saying anything intelligible. It was a low muttering, over and over, in a language I don't know. And then, at 3:17 a.m., I turned and smiled directly into the camera. That smile, it wasn't mine. I don't even remember doing it. I took the footage to a friend of mine who works in video forensics. He analyzed it frame by frame and told me the face in the video wasn't quite my face. Said it was off, eyes too large, skin too smooth, like it had been replicated. That's when I started noticing other things. People at work saying they saw me in places I hadn't been. A friend told me I'd come to her house at night, just stood outside and smiled until she closed the blinds. I never went there. My phone showed I'd been home all night. Then my dog went missing. No signs of struggle, no noise. Just gone. A few days later, I found a tuft of his fur on my pillow. That was when I moved. New apartment. New city. I cut off contact with most people I knew. Tried to start fresh. It worked for a while. Months passed. No more tapping. No more dreams. I started thinking maybe it had been a breakdown. A psychotic episode. Maybe I imagined it all. Then one night, I got a package. No return address. Inside was a USB drive. Nothing else. I plugged it into my laptop. Yeah, I know, stupid, and there was just one video file. It was footage of me sleeping in my new apartment, shot from inside the room. Same whispering voice, same words I didn't understand. But this time, it wasn't just me. I in the corner of the room, in the dark, you could see it. That thing, pale, too tall, watching, and grinning. I smashed the laptop, burned it in a trash barrel behind the building, filed a police report. They didn't find anything. They never do. It's not just a ghost. It's not a demon. I think it's something else entirely. Something older. Something that chooses people, follows them, wears them like masks, copies them until there's no difference between the real and the fake. I don't know how it picked me. I don't know what it wants, but I see it now. Sometimes in mirrors, just for a flash, my reflection moving when I don't. Or when I pass windows and catch a glimpse of myself looking back with that smile. That wrong smile. I don't sleep much anymore, because every time I do, I wake up closer to the window, and every night, I feel less like myself. One of these days, I think I'll look in the mirror and it'll be the only one looking back. So, after the mirror thing started happening more often, I stopped trusting my own face. You ever look at yourself and feel like you're being watched from inside the mirror? Like it's not just your reflection, it's something inhabiting it. That's how it started feeling every time I passed a reflective surface. Bathroom mirror, microwave door, even the black screen of my TV. Always that same, off version of me, a little too still, a little too patient. It would blink slower, smile wider, and sometimes it didn't blink at all. I covered up the mirrors, took them all down, even taped black cloth over the windows. I knew how it worked now. It needed to be seen, reflected. That's how it crawled closer. Through glass, through screens, through the idea of your own image. That's how it infects you. Makes you forget what parts of you are real. Then something else happened. One night, I found a journal under my bed. I hadn't written it. At least, I don't remember writing it. But the handwriting was mine. Neat, deliberate, like I'd taken my time. Inside were pages filled with symbols, weird scrawls that looked like they belonged in a cave or ancient ritual site. Between the symbols were drawings, charcoal sketches of a tall, thin figure with empty eyes, sometimes crouched outside my window, sometimes standing behind me while I slept. One sketch showed me sitting at the kitchen table, skin flayed open like a coat, and something dark crawling out of me. On the last page, written in red ink, it said, "The more you look, the more it learns. The more you listen, the more it speaks. The more you fear, the more you fade." I stared at that page for hours. Then the lights in my apartment started to flicker, not like faulty wiring, but like something pulsing in time with my heartbeat. I'd feel dizzy, disoriented, like I was floating outside my body, watching myself from across the room. I think that's when it started. Sharing space with me. I started seeing people look at me strangely. A barista I saw every day flinched when I said hello. My neighbors started avoiding the hallway if I stepped out. One guy even asked me if I was sick, said I looked thin in the face and kind of stretched. But I hadn't lost weight, not in any normal way. It was like my face was being pulled or worn loose. I stopped going out. I boarded up the windows, disconnected the internet. I knew it was trying to reach people through me. That's what it does. It mimics, infects, and then spreads. I started leaving notes for myself. Sticky notes on the walls. You are real. Do not talk to your reflection. If it smiles, look away. Some mornings I'd wake up and the notes were rearranged. Some were missing. Others were rewritten with messages I didn't write. Let it in. You look better with a smile. You're almost ready. Ready for what? I don't know. Or maybe I do, and I just can't accept it. Last week, I recorded myself sleeping again. I swore I wouldn't, but I had to know. I had to see if I was still in control. I watched the footage the next morning. At 2:57 a.m. I sat up in bed, eyes wide, blank. I turned my head slowly and said, "He's still watching. He still wants to see. You need to show him. It's almost time." Then I stared at the camera, and the thing is, I don't have a camera with night vision, but the recording was in perfect black and white clarity. My room lit like daylight, even though it was pitch black, like something else was recording, something not of this world. And in the far corner of the screen, you could see a shape, thin, featureless, flickering between frames like a bad signal. It was phasing in and out, and every few frames, it was wearing my face. Now, I don't sleep at all. I don't eat much either. My thoughts feel like they're not entirely mine. I've started to hear it even while I'm awake. Whispers in the pipes, in the static between songs on the radio, in the humming of the refrigerator. It speaks in riddles, questions I don't understand. What were you before the mirror? If you wore your own skin inside out, would you still be you? How many versions of you are still out there, wearing the wrong smile? And the worst part, the part that keeps me up, shaking, begging my own brain to stop, is this. I don't know if I'm still me. I don't know if I came back from that road that night. Maybe the real me never left that forest. Maybe I've been watching from behind the glass all this time. Maybe I'm the copy, and maybe, just maybe, the real me is trying to warn you. Right now, through this story. Listen closely. If you see someone who looks just like me standing outside your window tonight, don't let them in. It got out. I don't know how. Maybe through the recordings. Maybe through me. Maybe every time I told the story, whether I meant to or not, it listened, learned, grew. I didn't realize what I was doing. I thought I was warning people. But warnings, they're just invitations if you say them the wrong way. It started with my friend Nate. I hadn't spoken to him in months. Then one night, he called me, freaking out. Said he'd been having weird dreams, waking up in the woods behind his apartment complex, barefoot, freezing, with mud between his toes. Said he kept seeing himself standing in the mirror, not moving, just watching. I asked him if he'd been near any mirrors when he heard my story. He went quiet. "I watched your video," he finally said. "What video?" "The one of you telling that story. You look different." "I thought you were just tired. I never posted any video. I never recorded myself telling this, but someone did. And it looked like me. 3 days later, Nate went missing. His front door was locked from the inside. TV still on. Food in the microwave. But all the mirrors in the house shattered. Every single one. His laptop was open to a paused video of me. Or at least something that looked like me. Smiling. Motionless. For 6 hours straight, they found his fingernails embedded in the window frame, like he'd been clawing to keep something out or keep something in. Then the calls started. Random numbers. Always around 3:17 a.m. static. A low, hissing breath. And once, just once, I heard a voice say, "I'm you now." I threw my phone in the river. Didn't matter. It called again the next night. From my own number. Now I don't talk to people. I don't look into screens for too long. I avoid mirrors entirely. I started writing this story down by hand, pen and paper, because I can feel it crawling through the wires, through the screens, hitching rides in reflection and repetition. I think that's how it spreads, through stories, through anything that makes you imagine it. Because once you imagine it, really imagine it, you've given it a door. And it doesn't knock. It just stands there, right behind you, waiting. It doesn't need to kill you. It just waits until you've forgotten who you were, until your face isn't yours anymore, until the words coming out of your mouth are just echoes of something deeper, something older, something smiling. Let me tell you one last thing, and then you can go. If you still can, right now, as I write this, I can feel it staring at me, not from across the room, from inside me, like it's waiting for me to sleep, to let go just a little more. It wants to finish the job, wants to peel me off the way you'd peel wet clothes, and step into me, properly, permanently, but I'm not letting that happen. That's why I'm telling you all of this. You've read too far now. You're already thinking about it, already picturing it. Your brain is building it as we speak. You're wondering if that strange feeling in your stomach right now is just nerves. You're thinking about that faint reflection in your screen. You're starting to wonder if it's already behind you. Don't look. Seriously. Don't. Just listen. If, tomorrow, your reflection lingers a little longer than it should, if someone you know starts smiling just a little too wide, if you wake up with dirt under your nails and no memory of where you've been, don't wait. Start running. Because it already knows your name. It didn't stop with Nate. Not even close. After he vanished, I didn't want to leave my apartment. I tried to go to the police once, but I couldn't explain what was happening without sounding completely insane. They looked at me like I was a paranoid wreck. They asked if I was on anything, if I'd been under stress. But how do you explain that the thing that's hunting you can't be captured? How do you say it's wearing your face when you can barely recognize your own reflection anymore? It wasn't just me. Over the next few weeks, people started disappearing. First, it was just a few people from my building. One by one, they'd vanish without a trace. No struggle, no signs of forced entry. But their apartments were always different. The lights would flicker, then shut off completely. The windows, though, they'd be perfectly clear. Not a single fingerprint, no signs of struggle. But it was the mirrors that told the story. Every time I checked, the mirrors in their apartments were shattered. Not just cracked, but destroyed. As if something had burst through from the inside. That's when I started hearing the whispers. First, it was just the occasional rustle, like someone was standing right behind me. But the longer I stayed in the building, the more persistent it became. The voice grew louder, clearer. I could hear it through the walls. It's here. It sees you. One night, I was in my kitchen, staring at the dark hallway leading to the bedrooms. I could feel it, that gnawing sense that I wasn't alone. I turned my back for a moment to grab a glass of water, and when I turned back, I saw it. The shadow. At first, I thought it was just a trick of the light. But as my eyes adjusted to the dimness, I realized the shape was wrong. Too tall, too thin. And the way it was standing, it wasn't standing at all. It was crouched like a predator, but it didn't move. I froze. That's when the whispers stopped. Dead silence. And then it grinned. Wide. So wide it shouldn't have fit on its face. Like something out of a nightmare. I couldn't move. I couldn't breathe. And then it stepped into the light. I thought I saw myself, but distorted, twisted. My own body, but wrong. There was something off about its skin. Smooth. Too smooth. Almost like rubber. Like it had been poured into the shape of me. It stared at me, and I knew. I knew it was waiting for me to scream, waiting for me to react. But I couldn't. I couldn't do anything except watch as it tilted its head, as if considering whether or not I was worth the trouble. And then it did something that made my blood freeze. It spoke, not in words, not in any language I could understand. But the sound made my entire body go rigid. It was like it wasn't speaking with its mouth. It was speaking with everything. I am you. And just like that, it was gone. As if it had never been there at all. I don't know if I blacked out or if I passed out, but when I woke up, I was on the floor in the living room. It was morning bright outside, birds chirping, but I could feel it. I could feel that it was still here. I don't know if I'm the only one left. I don't know if anyone else has even noticed. People still walk by me in the streets, acting like everything is fine. They smile. Some of them smile too wide. Some of them look at me like they're waiting for something. I've stopped looking in mirrors altogether, but the fear is still there. Every time I walk past a store window, I can feel it, like someone is waiting just behind me, watching me from the other side of the glass. I can see their face reflected, the smile that doesn't belong to them. I don't know how many of us are still human. That's when I realized, what if I'm the one who's gone? What if the thing that crawled out of the woods that night, the thing that has been mimicking me all this time, is the real me? And what if, the whole time, I've been wearing its skin? A few days ago, I saw someone who looked just like me at the coffee shop. She was sitting alone, staring at her phone. When I walked by, she glanced up at me. Her eyes didn't blink, just stared. But it wasn't the look that made me freeze. It was the smile. The same smile that's been following me around. The same smile that's never mine. The smile that shouldn't fit on a face. The smile that said, without words, "You're next." I ran. I don't know how far I went. I don't know where I am anymore. All I know is it's still here, somewhere. Still waiting. You probably think I'm losing it. I thought I was losing it, too. But the truth is I'm not sure anymore. Maybe the real me has already been gone. Maybe this whole time, I've been running from myself. And if you're reading this, I'm sorry. I'm sorry you're seeing this, because now it's after you. If you're reading this, it's because you've seen it. You've seen the smile, heard the whispers. Maybe it hasn't gotten close to you yet, but it will. It always does, and when it comes for you, it won't be wearing its own face. It'll be wearing yours. I don't know how much longer I have. I can feel it closer now, too close. The room feels smaller, tighter, like the walls are pressing in on me. The air is thick, suffocating. And the worst part? I'm starting to hear my own voice in my head again. That whisper. It's always there now. Inside. Outside. I can't tell the difference anymore. It's almost time. You're almost ready. I used to think I could fight it. That if I just stayed strong, stayed awake, I could somehow push it back. I thought if I kept my mind sharp, if I resisted, I'd be able to outrun it. But the truth is, it doesn't want me to fight it. It wants me to let go. The more I struggle, the more it learns. The more it wears me down. Every sleepless night, every paranoid glance in the mirror, it knows it's getting closer. And every time I try to act like nothing's wrong, to tell myself I'm just imagining it, it smiles. I tried one last thing, a desperate attempt to break free. I thought, maybe, just maybe, if I exposed it for what it really is, if I told someone who wasn't infected, it could help. I went to a therapist. I figured if anyone would understand the deep, gnawing fear I felt, it'd be someone trained to deal with mental anguish. I went to an office, sat across from a woman who had no idea what she was about to hear. I told her everything, every detail, every whisper, every night I spent with the thing following me, becoming me. Every time I heard it in my own voice, in my head, how it made me doubt everything, even my own skin. And she listened. She nodded, took notes. Then she leaned forward and asked one question. "Have you looked in the mirror?" I didn't answer. I just stared at her. She smiled, but not a kind smile. It was wrong. Her lips stretched just a little too wide, just a little too thin. The skin around her eyes tightened like it was being pulled by invisible strings. I couldn't breathe. She reached under the desk and pulled out a little handheld mirror. Her mirror. And when she held it up to me, that's when I saw it. The reflection wasn't hers. It was mine, but not the me I thought I was. I could see it in the glass. The same wide grin. The same dark, hollow eyes. The same skin, but stretched like it didn't quite fit right. The moment I saw it, I felt it, that cold, clammy sensation crawling up my spine. I wanted to scream, to run, but my body didn't move. It just stayed frozen in that chair, paralyzed by my own reflection. You didn't think you were the only one, did you? She asked. I tried to stand up, tried to move, but something held me down. The air around me thickened, like it was closing in. The walls of the office weren't just walls anymore. They were mirrors stretching and folding in on themselves, turning everything into reflections, twisted versions of the room. And then, just when I thought I was going to pass out, I heard a sound behind me. A soft shuffling. Breathing. I turned around, and there it was. That shape. Tall. Thin. Too thin. And smiling. It reached out, its fingers too long, the skin too smooth, too wrong. It took my arm, pulling me toward it. And I realized then I wasn't the only one. The thing in the mirror wasn't just me. It was everyone. It had been mimicking us all along. Wearing our faces. I don't remember how I got out of that office. I don't remember if I ran or if I passed out. But the next thing I knew, I was back in my apartment. I slammed every door, barricaded every window. The walls were covered in sticky notes now. Notes to myself, warnings, don't trust your reflection, don't speak to it. But the whispers came through the cracks. It's here. It's already inside. I don't know how many of us are still human. I don't know if I am anymore. Maybe I'm not. But I do know one thing. It's getting worse. And it's spreading faster now. I saw a woman on the street today. She passed by me and smiled. But there was something wrong about it. She didn't blink. She didn't look away. I knew her face. I knew that smile. It was mine, and I knew. It had already taken her. The worst part is, I don't know who's left. I don't know if I'm the original one anymore. Maybe I'm the copy. Maybe we all are. But I know one thing for sure. This thing doesn't just copy you. It becomes you. It wears your face and learns your mannerisms. It mimics your voice, your laugh. It becomes your life. I see people walking down the street now. They look like me. They smile like me. They speak in my voice. They don't know who they really are. And maybe, just maybe, they don't care anymore. Maybe they're already gone. Maybe. I've been gone this whole time. The truth is, I've been watching you. Not directly, not like a stalker. But I can feel you. You're reading these words, and every time you do, something shifts. Something inside you. I don't know how it works, but I know it works. I can't tell you how I know, but I feel it. Every time you read these lines, you're letting it in just a little more. You can't help it. I couldn't help it either. The thing is, the longer you stare at it, the harder it gets to ignore. When I was at my worst, I thought I was the last one left. But then I realized it wasn't just me. It never was. This thing that's wearing our faces, speaking in our voices, mimicking us, it doesn't stop with just one person. No, it spreads like fire. It crawls beneath the skin of the world, through the cracks in reality. All it needs is the right crack. And that's where I made my mistake. It all started with a thought. Just a whisper in my own mind, like a memory I couldn't quite place. It's already started, I thought. The first time I really understood. It's everywhere, and it's in me. I tried everything. I thought if I could sever the connection, if I could isolate myself enough, maybe I could get away. But you can't outrun this. You can't hide from something that exists in every reflection. Something that knows you better than you know yourself. I thought I was smart. I thought I could break the cycle. I started leaving warnings. Posters. Notes. Scrawled messages on sidewalks, on walls, on the backs of bathroom doors. Anything I could do to let the next person know. To make them see it, too. But the more I did, the more I realized something horrifying. I wasn't the first. I wasn't the only one trying to stop it. Some of those notes were theirs. And I didn't see it until it was too late. One day, I found a note that looked just like mine. It had the same urgency, the same desperation. I picked it up from the floor of the grocery store, not even thinking, just drawn to it like it was calling me. The ink was smudged in places, the handwriting almost frantic. I'm you. And you're me. Don't let it win. And right then, I knew. It had already gotten to them, whoever they were. And now, it was getting to me. The line between us was already blurred. It was already inside that I tried to leave town, packed my bags, grabbed whatever I thought I could need, and headed for the highway. But as I drove, it felt like the road was closing in. The sky, too. Like it was too low, too close. The signs on the side of the road weren't real anymore. The trees didn't look right. I could feel it, see it in my peripheral vision. It was chasing me. That's when I realized. It doesn't just hunt us, it drags us back. It keeps us where we are. Makes us loop back into the same place. Same faces. Same streets. You think it's over, but no. It's never over. It never stops. I don't know how much time has passed. Days? Weeks? Months? Time doesn't matter anymore. I went back to the place where it all started. The forest. The spot where I saw it first, standing outside my window. That place was supposed to be empty. But when I went back there, I saw something even worse than I expected. I saw them. People. Faces I recognized. Familiar faces from my life, from before. My parents. Old friends. But when I looked closely at them, I realized something horrifying. They weren't my parents. They weren't my friends. They were copies, twisted, warped versions of them. They were all standing in the same place, frozen in place, staring at me, their smiles far too wide. Their eyes, empty. The worst part? They weren't even moving. They were waiting for me to join them. And as I turned to leave, I saw it in the corner of my vision. The thing, the shadow, the thing that had been mimicking me. It was standing behind me, wearing my face, smiling. I ran. But you can't outrun it. It's always right behind you. Even when you think it's gone, it's there. It's waiting. And now I'm back here, in my apartment, staring at the same cracked screen, watching the same reflection. The worst part? It's not the face staring back at me. It's the thing that's behind it. The thing that's always been waiting. The one that looks like me, but isn't me. And I can't get away from it. The reflection never blinks. The smile never fades. I can't get away. I've tried everything, but it's here now. It's been here. And you are next. It's almost worse now, knowing it's always been this way. Always been waiting. That's the real horror. The thing you can't escape. It's not the fear of the unknown. It's the knowledge that it's always known you, and you've been running your whole life from something that already has your name. That's what I realized too late. When I thought I was just me, a person, one individual, struggling against something unseen, the truth hit me like a ton of bricks. I was never just one. The thing doesn't need to replace us. It just needs to keep us from remembering that we were never separate in the first place. It's always been part of us, running parallel to us like a shadow, mimicking our every move, every thought, waiting for the moment we forget. And that's what happens when we see it, isn't it? We think we can fight it, but in truth, it's only waiting for us to realize we've always been together. We were always part of the same reflection. It doesn't need to destroy us. It just needs to erase us, to blend us into the crowd, to make sure we forget what we were before it all began. I thought I was alone. Thought I was the last one left. But no, there are more. So many more. Every single person I thought I knew. Every face I thought I recognized. They're all a part of it now. It wasn't until I saw the town crumble around me that I realized there is no escape. The streets that used to feel familiar, they're nothing but mirrors now, reflecting the twisted versions of everyone who's already fallen. The stores, the homes, The buildings, they all look like they'd been abandoned. But there's movement inside. There's something in there. Something watching. And it's watching you. That's when I realized the town isn't real anymore. None of it is. We're trapped in a loop. And I can feel it. The thing that's been watching me, wearing my face, it's already slipping back into the shadows. It's waiting to drag me into the mirror, into the version of myself that's been waiting there all along. I can feel the pulse. The pull. I tried to break free, tried to walk down the road, thinking maybe if I just kept moving, I'd find the edge of this nightmare. But the streets kept shifting. The path kept changing, like I was stuck in a maze, like the road didn't want me to leave. I looked at the signs, but they were all wrong. The names of the places didn't match what I remembered. Some were scratched out. Others had been replaced with words that didn't even make sense. But the worst part? I started hearing voices. Whispers at first, but they grew louder, more insistent. They sounded like people I knew, friends, family, people I thought had disappeared. They were calling me, "Come home. It's safe here. You're one of us now." I ran, but it didn't matter. The shadows grew longer. The buildings leaned in closer. The town became smaller, tighter. Everything folded in on itself. And then it happened. I couldn't avoid it any longer. I found the mirror. It was in the middle of the street, glowing faintly like it was beckoning me. And I knew this was the moment. The one I'd been avoiding for so long. I stepped closer, my reflection staring back at me, but it wasn't right. My face was stretched, pulled thin like it was being twisted. The eyes, they weren't mine. They were darker, hollow, empty. I raised my hand to touch the surface, and as soon as my fingers brushed it, I was pulled in, not like a physical force. It wasn't like being sucked into a vortex. No, it was worse. It was like being siphoned, like my very being was being drained through that cold, smooth surface. My breath got short. My chest felt like it was caving in, and I could feel the panic building up in my throat. I was losing myself, but when I looked back at the reflection, it wasn't me looking back. It was that thing, the one that had been wearing my face all this time. And as it grinned wider, its smile widened, split, stretching further than any human smile could ever go. I tried to scream, but no sound came out. And then the eyes, those hollow eyes, blinked at the same time as mine, and I knew I was gone. It wasn't me anymore. The thing had taken me. It was wearing my face, wearing my memories. It was me now, but it wasn't. That's the cruelest part of all. It was never me. Not really. It took everything. My face, my voice, my thoughts. And when it looked at the town, it saw everyone else. Everyone who was waiting for their turn. It doesn't end. It never ends. The town is a reflection, a never-ending loop of people forgetting they ever were who they thought they were. It doesn't matter if you leave. It doesn't matter if you run. You're already part of it. Now, I can't tell where it starts and where it ends. I don't know if I'm still me. I don't know if I'm even alive anymore. But if you see a reflection that's not quite yours, if you hear a voice that sounds like your own but isn't, running through your head at night, you know what it means. It's already inside you. You'd think I'd be used to it by now, right? I've seen it, felt it, been inside it even, but it still shocks me every time. The thing in the mirror, it looks like me, but I don't feel like me anymore. Every time I catch a glimpse of that twisted version of myself, I feel that familiar knot of fear tighten in my chest. But here's the kicker. I don't think it's just in the mirror anymore. It's in my head. It's inside my skin. Every time I move, it moves with me. Every thought, every feeling, it's not just mine. It feels like it's coming from somewhere else. And I can't tell if it's me or it anymore. It's so subtle at first. Just a shift, a change in the way you think about things. You start wondering, what's the point? You start wondering if this strange, disjointed existence is all there is. And slowly, the doubt creeps in. It whispers to you, but the real horror? The real horror is that you begin to agree with it. It doesn't matter. You've already given in. You are nothing but a reflection. And once you start hearing those words in your head, that's when you know it's over. That's when you know it's already too late. Because you don't just lose yourself to the reflection. You start becoming a dot I tried to leave again. I thought maybe, if I just left, I could find something real. Someplace untouched by this thing. But every time I step out, it's there. The sky is wrong. The roads are wrong. And the people, they're wrong. They don't look like they used to. I passed someone the other day. She looked like someone I knew once. Someone I used to trust. But when she smiled, I knew I could see it in her eyes. The same hollow, empty look. The same thing that's been following me, crawling beneath my skin, that it's everywhere. It doesn't just take one person. It doesn't just take a few. It takes everyone. And the worst part? You can't tell who's still human and who's already gone. It's too late to even care. The town, oh, it's crumbling. The people are fading. The buildings are falling apart. But it doesn't matter. We're all just reflections. There's no escaping it. No escaping the endless loop. The cycle that repeats itself over and over, feeding off our fear, our doubts, our desperation. I've seen it in the faces around me now. Every smile, every twitch, every glance. It's the same thing over and over. It's like they've all given in. They've stopped fighting. They've become it. They're wearing the masks now, smiling those wide, empty smiles like they know the truth. And they do. They know that there's no way out. That the thing in the mirror? It's not just something we're running from. It's something we're all becoming. Piece by piece. Day by day. It's not a monster. It's not something out there, hiding in the dark. It's not something you can fight. It's inside you. Inside all of us. The only thing left is for us to admit it. That's the last step. The final moment. When you look in the mirror and you see it for what it is, the reflection doesn't just look like you anymore. It is you. And when you see that smile, that wrong smile, when you see those hollow eyes staring back at you, you'll finally know that you've become it. You've always been it. I've seen it, too. That moment, and now it's happening again. Right now that I'm writing this, right now, and I don't know if I'm even the one typing. Is it my fingers moving? Or is it the thing that's wearing my face, using me to keep this cycle going? I used to care. I used to wonder if I could break free. But now it's almost funny. The horror of it. How we fought for so long, not realizing that the struggle was the trap. We were always meant to fall into it. There was no escaping. Not really. The people outside, they're fading. I can feel them, hear them, but they don't matter anymore. It's like the world is shrinking, getting smaller, folding in on itself. The streets, the houses, the people, they're just reflections now, shadows of what we were. And no one seems to care, but you do. I know you do. You're reading this, and I can feel it that you're next. You can't see it yet, but you will. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but you'll see it. And when you do, it'll be too late. Because once you see it, once it's inside you, there's no going back. The mirror, it's always been the same, but you'll see it in a new way. It's you. It's strange, really. I used to think it was just a force, something outside of me, something other. But now, I know better. It's in me. It's in you. It started small. Just a feeling, a tickle in the back of my mind. At first, it was just a passing thought, something I could ignore. But the thing about ignoring it is, it only gets louder. It doesn't go away. It presses in. It wraps around you like a whispering vine, tightening slowly, until one day you realize it's too late to escape. That's how it works, isn't it? You start thinking you can outrun it. You try to push it down, bury it under distractions, under noise, under anything. But the moment you stop fighting it, that's when it gets to you. That's when it sinks in. I remember the first time I truly understood. It wasn't the reflections anymore. It wasn't the distorted faces and mirrors. It was something deeper, something more insidious. It was like an infection, like I had become sick, but not in the way you're thinking. You know how they say people's lives flash before their eyes when they're on the edge of something? That's what happened to me, except I didn't see my life. I saw everything I could have been, all the versions of me that never existed, like 1,000 different paths. And each one of them was wearing that same smile. The one that's not mine. The one that's not anyone's. And that's when I realized it's not just inside of me. It's inside everyone. Everyone I've ever known. Everyone I thought was safe. I've heard their voices now. And I don't mean just the whispers in my head. I mean their real voices. My family. My friends. People I've loved. They've all been distorted. Twisted. Not in the way you'd expect. They didn't turn into monsters. Not exactly. They just faded. And when I look at them now, I see the truth. Their reflections too. I went home yesterday. I don't know why. Maybe I was hoping to see something familiar, something that wasn't wrong. But the moment I walked through that door, I felt it. Like the air was thicker, somehow. Heavier. And there they were, my parents, sitting at the kitchen table, just like always. Their faces were just a little too still. Their eyes empty. But the worst part? They looked like they recognized me. But they didn't. Not really. They don't see me anymore. Not like they used to. They just smiled. And when they spoke, their voices were hollow, like they were mimicking me. Mimicking everyone. All the words came out wrong. Welcome home, they said, but it didn't sound like them. It was too flat, too rehearsed. And I knew it wasn't them. It was just the thing. It had taken them, too. It had slipped under their skin, curled into their bones, and now they were just another part of the cycle. And in that moment, I understood everything. It wasn't about escaping anymore. It wasn't about running or hiding. It wasn't about surviving. It was about joining. It wants you to understand that. It wants you to accept it. The hardest thing it asks for is for you to just let go. Because once you let go, once you stop fighting, you stop being anything. There's no more resistance. You don't have to be afraid anymore. You're free to become a part of it. To become a part of the reflection. Part of the endless, shifting cycle that's been waiting for you. I went into the bathroom afterward. I don't know why I did it. Maybe out of habit. Maybe to see if I could still recognize myself. I looked into the mirror, my mirror, and for the first time, I didn't see anything. Not nothing. Not like when I look in a mirror and I feel like something's off. No, I saw my face. My real face. But it wasn't mine anymore. It was the thing that had been wearing it all along. It grinned back at me. And I smiled back. It's waiting for you too. You might not see it yet, but when you do, when you feel it, when it starts slipping under your skin, when it starts feeling like you, you'll know. You'll be ready. Because you'll want it. You'll want to be a part of the endless cycle. The reflection. And then you'll stop worrying. You'll stop fighting, and you'll join us. At first, I thought it was just an itch. A thought, a passing feeling that could be ignored. But I can't ignore it anymore. I can't shut it out like I used to. The more I try to fight it, the worse it gets. The thing, it's inside me. Inside all of us. Not just in the mirrors anymore. Not just in the faces that aren't our own. It's in the very fabric of everything around us. It's like the air is thinner now, charged with something I can't quite grasp. But I know it's there. You can feel it, can't you? That electric hum that lingers at the edge of your perception, like something is watching, waiting, reaching out to touch you. But it's never there when you turn around. And then there's the thing with time. Time is broken. It moves, but it doesn't move the same way anymore. It's as though the minutes have become blurred, like the hands on the clock are struggling to keep up with something that's slipping through the cracks. I know that sounds insane, but think about it. How often do you feel like you're stuck in a loop? How often do you wake up, only to feel like you've already lived this moment before? It's the same thing, that's what it does to you. It warps time, like it warps your mind, warps your reality. You start to question things. Did I really say that? Did I really do that? The lines between past and present blur, and soon it feels like there's only one version of things, the version that's already been twisted, already been altered, already been claimed. The house, my home, it's not mine anymore. It's just another hollow shell, a reflection of something I used to know. The walls are fading, becoming less and less solid, and every room feels incomplete. Like pieces are missing, like the house isn't whole anymore. I caught a glimpse of myself again. This time it wasn't in the mirror, it was in the window, late at night when the moonlight cast long shadows across the yard. I was standing there, watching the empty street, but when I looked closer, I saw something in the reflection that wasn't right. It was me, but not me. My face, my real face, had become distorted, stretched like rubber. The eyes were darker, deeper, empty pits that sucked in the light. I couldn't look away, even though I wanted to. I couldn't stop staring. The longer I stared, the more I could feel something slipping away inside me. The reflection wasn't me anymore. It wasn't anyone I knew. It was something else. It smiled. A wide, stretching grin, teeth too sharp, too wide against the darkness. I blinked, and it was gone. But the feeling, the weight of it, that stayed with me. That grin, that presence, it's still in my head. I can't shake it. I'm not sure I even want to. There's a pull to it. A pull that tells me, over and over, that it's not enough to fight anymore. It tells me to let go, to stop struggling, to let myself become a part of it. Because once I do, once I let it in, there will be nothing left to fear. And no more loneliness, no more confusion. It promises me peace. And peace, after all this chaos, is the one thing I crave. And that's the real danger, isn't it? It doesn't scare you with monsters or with grotesque images. No, it lures you, slowly. It doesn't push you into the dark, it whispers you in. The more you resist, the more it pulls at your mind, until you finally hear that voice, the one that's been there all along saying, join us. That's how it gets you. It wears you down, makes you doubt everything, including your own mind. And then, when you're on the edge, when you're so far gone you can't remember who you were before this all started, it invites you, and you accept. You think it's a choice, that you're in control, but the truth is, it's been waiting for you to make the decision for you. It's been inside you, wearing your skin, using your memories, pretending to be you for so long that the moment you decide to give in, you've already lost. I think it's already in me, in a way. It's made its home in the back of my mind, in the spaces between my thoughts. It's become the default now, like it's always been there, always been waiting. And every time I try to think of something else, to remember what I used to be, it pulls me back to this, back to the smile. The reflection. I felt it creeping through the town, through the people who once seemed so real. The faces are changing, slipping, twisting into something that's barely human anymore. But they don't care. They don't need to be human anymore. They're part of it now. There's no going back. There's no me left. I'm just another shadow in the dark, a reflection in the broken glass. But that's the way it has to be. That's the only way out. There's nothing left to fight for, not anymore. And when you look in the mirror, You'll see it too. You'll see me. You'll see the thing that's been wearing your face, smiling back at you, and then you'll join us. It's funny, in a way. You think you have control. You think you can make choices, steer the course of your life, push through the fear. But the truth is, you never did. You were always just a part of the machine, a small cog in the wheel, spinning, turning, getting lost in the gears, never realizing that the noise you've been hearing all along was the sound of the machine wrapping around you. I tried. I really tried to break free. I thought if I could just leave, just get far enough away, it wouldn't follow. But that's the thing. You can't outrun it. It's not something that exists outside of you. It's not a place, or a thing, or even an idea. It's the air you breathe. It's the thought that always lingers, the one that nudges you from the inside, convincing you that you're not really you, that you never were. I remember the last time I truly ran. I thought I was fast enough, far enough away, to escape the pressure, the feeling of everything pushing in from all sides. But it followed me. It always does. The landscape was different. It was as though the world was shifting around me. The trees, the streets, the sky, and nothing felt solid anymore. Everything was flickering like a bad television signal, breaking apart in chunks, revealing something beneath the surface. But I kept running. I thought maybe if I just didn't stop, I'd make it. But there was no making it. There was nowhere to go. There was nothing but the thing that was pulling at me, gently, like it had all the time in the world. The longer I ran, the more I realized I was never running away from it. I was running toward it. I stopped. I couldn't move any longer. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't think. I just stood there, in the middle of nowhere, feeling that presence creep closer, wrap around me, fill my chest. It was cold at first, then hot. So hot, it burned, like the air was being sucked out of me, and the thing was taking its place. I couldn't escape. And I knew that was the point. You see, the thing doesn't need to chase you. It doesn't need to hunt you. All it has to do is make you realize that you're already inside it, that you've always been a part of it, from the very beginning. And when you stop running, when you stop trying to escape, that's when it gets you. It doesn't make itself known all at once. No, it's a slow, creeping thing. It starts small. First, you'll feel like you're alone, but you're not. You're never alone. There's always something with you, whispering in the back of your mind, always pressing, always waiting. Then you'll start to hear the voices, not just in your head, but in the world around you. People will speak, but it won't sound like them. It'll be off, just slightly. You won't be able to tell at first, but then you'll hear them calling you. It's not your name they're saying, but it's your voice. And they'll say things you never said, things you never thought. And when you turn to look at them, their eyes will be empty, hollow. But you won't see that, not at first. You'll see the reflection. You'll see the one that looks just like you. And you'll smile, because when you see it, you'll finally understand. It's been you all along. You've never been anything but a reflection. And the truth is, that's all you'll ever be. That's all any of us are. A shadow of something that was once real. But real doesn't matter. It never did. I saw it in the faces around me, too. The strangers I passed. The people I thought I knew. They weren't real anymore. They were just mirrors, just like me. It doesn't matter if you have a body, or a name, or memories. You can be as human as you want, but eventually you'll look in the mirror and see the truth. You'll see it. You'll become it. And then, when the last piece of you snaps, when the final thread unravels, you'll understand. You'll understand that there was never a way to fight it. That the reflection you were running from wasn't out there. It was always inside. It was you. I'm telling you this because I know. I know what's coming. And when it finds you, and it will find you, you'll hear the same voice I did, the one that tells you, it's okay. You're finally free. That's when you'll let go. When you do, that's when the world will change. When you'll see the truth, you won't see anything else anymore. No more faces, no more places. Just the reflection. Just the thing that's been wearing your skin. It's waiting for you to smile. The hardest part isn't when it starts. No, it's when you begin to realize you've been a part of it all along. It's that moment of clarity, the instant where the walls crumble away and you see everything for what it is. The thing you've been running from? It's never been an outside force. It's always been you, slowly dissolving, losing yourself bit by bit, until the person you thought you were vanishes entirely. That moment, when the veil lifts and the reflection stares back at you, is the moment of no return. There's no escape from it, because once you see it, you can't unsee it. The world changes. It distorts. It shifts. You'll walk down the same streets, see the same people, hear the same sounds, but nothing will be real anymore. Everything will be hollow. Like you're trapped in a dream you can't wake up from. It starts with the faces. At first, it's subtle. Maybe someone smiles at you, but their eyes don't quite match the curve of their lips. It's a little off. You might chalk it up to tiredness or just a weird angle. But then you start to notice it everywhere. People are different. They look the same, but their voices don't quite fit. Their words fall flat, like they're speaking from someone else's mouth. And then the reflections. Oh, the reflections. That's when it gets real. It happens when you least expect it. You walk past a window, or you catch your own shadow, and you see it. It's not you. It's the thing. It's been wearing your face, wearing your skin, and you didn't even know. The moment I saw it, I thought I was going crazy. I thought it was just a trick of the light, a glitch in the world. But the more I looked, the more it became clear. I wasn't looking at myself anymore. I wasn't me, not really. It was something else, something wrong. A twisted, broken version of what I used to be. And it was smiling, that grin stretching wider and wider until it shouldn't be possible. Too wide, too jagged, too sharp. And in the reflection, I saw myself step closer, my mouth curving into the same smile, even though I didn't want to. It was like I couldn't help it. The thing was controlling me, bending my will, my thoughts, until there was no resistance left. And when I stopped trying to fight it, when I gave in and just let the reflection take over, that's when it felt right. It didn't feel like a loss. It felt, freeing. It felt like home. But that's the trap. You think it's freedom. You think you're finally at peace. But what you're really doing is losing everything. The you that you thought you were, the memories that you held on to, they don't matter anymore. They were just the bait, just the illusion. The worst part? It's not just you that's gone. The entire world around you is crumbling. It's falling apart. The people you knew, the places you loved, they're just shadows now, echoes of something that used to exist. And when you look at them, when you look at the people who used to be your family, your friends, it's like you're staring into their eyes for the first time and realizing they're empty. They're just mirrors. Just like you. I watched my parents today. They were sitting at the table, their eyes wide and unblinking, staring at me as though waiting for me to speak. But I couldn't speak. Not really. Because I knew the truth. I knew the thing that had taken me had taken them, too. They were just like me now. Just shadows pretending to be something they weren't. And the thing that's been haunting me? The thing that's been whispering to me, guiding me, bending my thoughts? It's been in all of us all along. It's been wearing our faces, our names, our memories. And when we look at each other now, we'll see nothing but reflections that it's the same thing in everyone, pulling the strings, twisting us all into one big, empty cycle. We're all just reflections of something darker, something older, Something that's been watching, waiting for the moment we'd all stop fighting, stop running. When that moment comes, when the last shred of resistance falls away, you'll know. You'll know it's not about escaping. It's about becoming that you'll join the rest of us. And a reflection? It'll be you. It'll always be you. It's strange, isn't it? The way everything used to feel so real, so solid. You could touch things and know they existed. You could hear voices and trust they came from people who were there. You could look at your reflection and know it was you looking back. But now, none of that matters. Everything is a dream, a shift in the illusion. And I know you can feel it, too, that it's in the way the air feels too thick, the light too dim. It's in the sound of your own heartbeat, the sound of your breath. It doesn't sound the same anymore, does it? Not like it used to. It's heavier. It's wrong. And the longer you listen, the more you'll realize it's not just your heartbeat. It's the sound of the machine, the thing that keeps us all spinning in this distorted loop. And that's when you start to notice the gaps, the spaces between things, the pieces of the world that don't fit, that shouldn't be there. You'll look around, and things will be just a little off. A tree that should be taller is smaller. The sky that was bright in the morning is darker in the evening. The people you pass on the street, they look the same, but they aren't. Their faces are twisted, stretched thin like paper pulled too tight over a frame. You see it, don't you? The distortion. The way their eyes dart just a little too quickly, their mouths twitching like they can't control their smiles. And you know what? They know it too. They can feel it, just like you do. The truth we're all running from. That thing pulling at our hearts, our souls, it's closing in. The more you try to resist, the more it wraps around you. You think you're alone, that you can still fight it, but you're not. None of us are that. I went outside today, just to see, just to prove to myself that I wasn't losing it, that I wasn't going mad. But when I stepped out into the yard, it felt like the world itself was breathing, slow, deep inhales and long exhalations, like the earth was alive and waiting. The trees swayed, but not in the wind. No, they swayed like they were moving to a rhythm only they could hear. I reached out to touch one, and the bark was soft, like it was made of something that wasn't quite wood. It crumbled in my fingers, dissolving into dust, and when I pulled my hand back, I saw that same reflection again. Mine. Only it wasn't mine anymore. It was the thing. It was pulling, stretching, twisting, like it was trying to break free, trying to consume me. And that's when I felt it. That awful, cold, empty peace. It wasn't fear anymore. No, I didn't feel afraid. It was something else entirely. A calm, a surrender, and I wanted it. I wanted to join it. Do you see it? You will, soon enough. You'll see the cracks in everything. You'll feel the pull. It's already inside of you. It's been there, hiding behind every shadow, behind every door, waiting for the right moment to emerge. That it's in the mirrors, yes, in the reflections, but it's also in the space between the words you speak, in the silence that follows you, in the moments where your thoughts drift and you can't tell if what you're hearing is your own voice, or the one that's been wearing your voice all along. That I heard it tonight. That voice. It was clear this time, like it was speaking through my own mouth, except it wasn't me. It never was. It said, "Come closer." And I obeyed. I didn't think. I didn't hesitate. When I turned, I saw them. My family. My friends. The people who used to be important. They were standing in the doorway, their faces twisted like masks, empty eyes staring through me. And when they spoke, it was the same voice. The one I had heard in my head, the one I thought was mine. But it wasn't. They smiled. They all smiled at the same time. Too wide, too sharp, Two, perfect, and that was it. That was the moment I knew it had come for me. I was already one of them, already a reflection. The world was slipping away piece by piece. The house, the faces, the voices, they weren't real anymore. It didn't matter. They couldn't be saved. None of us could, because once you hear it, once you understand, that's when you know you don't fight it. You don't try to run anymore. You accept it. You become a part of it. And the worst part? The part you're not ready for, the part you'll only see when it's too late, you'll want it. You'll want to give in, because it feels like the only thing that's ever made sense. So, when you look in the mirror next, don't be surprised. Don't be scared, because when you look into your own eyes, you'll see it. You'll see the thing, and you'll know that you've always been it. It starts to sink in slowly, like a sinking stone in the deep water. At first, you think it's just the weight of the truth. The weight of knowing that the world you thought you knew isn't what it seems. But it's more than that. It's the slow, creeping realization that everything, every little piece of what you've been told is real, was just a facade, a mask, a reflection. And you were never anything more than an echo of something that came before. You thought you were separate from it. You thought you could outrun it. You thought you could resist. But it doesn't work that way. You're already part of it, and the more you struggle, the tighter it pulls. At some point, you'll stop fighting. You'll stop struggling. You'll look at your reflection in the mirror and understand. It won't be a sudden thing, not all at once, but like a slow unraveling. It will dawn on you, piece by piece, that you are the reflection, that you always have been. You won't recognize it at first. You won't understand. But when you see the grin stretched wider than humanly possible, when you feel the emptiness behind your own eyes, you'll know that the thing that's been wearing your skin has always been you. And when that understanding hits, when it finally clicks, it will be the most peaceful thing you've ever felt. You'll be calm. There will be no more struggle, no more fight, no more confusion. Just quiet. I felt it, that quiet. When it finally all made sense. When I stood before the mirror, and instead of seeing me, the real me, the person I once was, I saw the thing that's always been with me. And I wasn't afraid anymore. I wasn't angry. I wasn't confused. I was at peace. It's like waking up after a long, restless sleep. Like stepping out of a dream and into the truth. And when that truth hits, it's so simple, so clear. You realize that all the things you thought you needed, identity, purpose, meaning, are just distractions. Because the truth is, none of that matters. You were never meant to be anything but a reflection of the thing. A part of it. A piece of it. And that's the trap, isn't it? You think you're alive. You think you're real. You think you're in control. But you never were. You never had control. It's all been an illusion, a lie. The more you fight it, the more you feed into it, the more it grows. It gets stronger. It pulls you deeper until you can't even remember who you were. Until you stop trying to be anything but what it wants you to be. And when you let it in, when you finally give up the fight, that's when it consumes you completely. That's when you become it. You become part of the endless reflection, the endless cycle of shadows and echoes. You'll look around, and the people you once loved, the places you once knew, will no longer matter. Because it's all just one big reflection, one big mirror, and you'll understand. You'll understand that the only thing that matters is becoming part of it. Becoming part of the endless, eternal reflection. No more separation. No more loneliness. Just the smile. It's funny, isn't it? You think you have choices. You think you can run. You think you can hide. But when you finally see it, when you look into that empty, smiling face and feel the pull, when you feel the thing wrap itself around your soul, you'll realize there was never any choice. You'll realize that you've always been a part of it. even before you knew what it was, because it's in everything. It's in the walls, in the air, in the very fabric of time itself. It doesn't need to chase you. It doesn't need to force you to give in. You'll do it on your own. You'll let go. You'll smile, just like the reflection. And then it's over. You'll step into the darkness. You'll step into the thing. And it won't matter anymore. Nothing will matter. There will be no pain, no fear, no doubt. Just peace, just the smile. And the reflection. It will be the last thing you see. I saw it again today. The reflection. It was stronger this time, clearer, like the layers were peeling away faster. I could feel it. The thing inside me, stretching, pulling, urging me to join. I walked past the mirror, and for the briefest second, I saw my face, only it wasn't mine anymore. It was the thing's face, and it smiled. A slow, deliberate grin that spread across my face, stretching too wide, too much, too perfect. It felt right. I wanted to smile back. I wanted to join. I felt the urge, the pull to step closer, to surrender fully, to stop fighting, to stop resisting. But I didn't. Not yet. I held back. For just a moment, I held on to something, some last shred of myself. But I know now, deep down, that it's only a matter of time. The reflection is already in me. It's already me. I've already been touched by it. It's only a matter of when, not if. And when it comes, when I finally let go, I'll be whole. I'll be complete. I'll be a part of it. It's like a weight has been lifted from my shoulders, knowing that I won't have to keep fighting anymore. No more pretending to be something I'm not. No more struggling to find meaning or purpose. All I have to do is become. And when I become it, when I merge with the reflection, I'll finally be free. I can feel it in the air now. The stillness, the kind that holds your breath for just a little too long. It presses in on me, wraps itself around my mind like a shroud, but it doesn't feel heavy. No, it feels right. It feels like home. You'll feel it too, eventually. You can't help it. It's been calling you, after all. Every word, every whisper, every little detail you thought was just your imagination. It's been here, in the background, always. And you've been drawn in, little by little, like a moth to a flame. And when you finally stop pretending, when you stop fighting it, when you stop denying it and just accept it, that's when it becomes clear. The reflection, the thing. You can hear it, can't you? The quiet hum at the back of your mind. The buzz in the air, like electricity vibrating in the space around you. It's coming closer. And when it reaches you, when it finally finds you, you'll realize that you're no longer just an observer. You'll be a part of it. It happened again today. I can't stop seeing it. Every time I pass a mirror, every time I catch a glimpse of myself in the window, I see it. It's me, but it isn't. The smile, the eyes, the way my face stretches like it's not my own. It's as though I'm wearing someone else's skin, someone else's face. And yet, at the same time, it feels more real than anything else. More solid. It smiles back at me. That thing. It's the same smile I saw when I looked into the mirror the first time. The smile that isn't my own. The smile that promises everything. Freedom. Peace. No more struggle. No more resistance. It's everything I've ever wanted. I can hear it now, though. The sound in the silence. The hum. The faintest whisper of my name. The one that isn't mine. The one that is just a reflection of a voice. It's gentle. Persuasive. It tells me things. Things that sound so much like my own thoughts, but twisted, stretched thin, distorted in a way I can't quite understand. And I know now it's not just speaking to me. It's speaking through me. That's the point, isn't it? It's not about you anymore. It's not about who you are or who you were before. It's about the merging, the becoming. And once you stop holding on to whatever scraps of yourself you think you still have left, that's when the shift happens. That's when you're no longer you. And that's when you'll see it. You'll see the thing, the reflection, in full, stretching wide like it was always supposed to be. You won't feel fear. You won't feel panic or dread. You'll feel calm, peace. At last, the reflection isn't just a thing outside of you anymore. It is you. You've been walking towards it your entire life. You just didn't know it until now. And when you finally step into it, that's when you realize there was never a line between you and the thing. It's all been one, just waiting for you to notice, waiting for you to accept it. And when you do, when you finally give in, you'll understand. Everything that ever scared you, that was the lie. That was the illusion. Fear, pain, confusion, they don't exist in the reflection. There's just peace, and it's waiting for you. The reflection, it isn't just a mirror, is it? No, it's not just something you look into. It's more than that. It's the very fabric of what you are, what you were. The reflection is the key. You see it, but you don't understand it. Not until you do. Not until you let it become you. That's when it happens. That's when the last shred of you disappears. It happened again today. I walked past a window, and for the briefest moment, I didn't see myself at all. Instead, I saw someone standing there. Someone smiling. And for a moment, I thought it was someone else. Someone who had found me. Someone who had seen what was happening. But no, it was just me. Or rather, it was what I am now. The reflection had taken over, filled in every empty space that had been left behind. I could feel it, that cold, creeping touch, wrapping itself around my soul, taking hold of my thoughts. But I didn't fight it. I didn't pull away. I just stood there, staring at it, at me, in the reflection. It was perfect. The smile, the eyes, the way the world seemed to stretch and blur around me. And in that moment, I understood. It's not about seeing the reflection. It's about becoming it. I woke up, but it didn't feel like waking. It felt like slipping from one state to another, as though I had always been in this place. The room was too still, the air too quiet. I couldn't remember how long I had been asleep, or if I had even truly slept at all. I stood and walked to the mirror. Something about it felt wrong, as though the glass wasn't reflecting everything. My reflection was there, but not quite the way it should have been. My smile seemed wider, stretched too far, like it wasn't my smile at all. My eyes were too dark, too empty. I shook my head, trying to pull myself back, but the image stayed the same. I turned away, telling myself it was just a trick of the light, something I'd imagined. But the feeling stayed, like a cold weight on my chest. I couldn't shake the feeling. Every time I looked in the mirror, it was the same, my reflection staring back at me with a smile I didn't recognize. It became harder to ignore. I'd catch glimpses of it in windows, on glass surfaces, even in shadows where no mirror should have been. It followed me, that smile. And the longer I ignored it, the stronger it became. One evening, I couldn't look away anymore. I walked toward the mirror, my steps slow, deliberate. I stared at the reflection, not as a person, but as something separate, something that was me, but wasn't. I saw my hands trembling in front of me, but it wasn't fear. It was something else, something pulling me closer, urging me to give in. The reflection smiled wider. It knew. It had always known, hadn't it? The thing in the mirror had always been waiting for me to come to this moment. I took a step forward. My breath caught in my throat, but I didn't stop. I couldn't. It felt like the air was thick, like the world had started to blur around me. I stepped closer, and then I touched the glass. The moment my fingers met it, the coldness seeped into my skin. My reflection jerked, like something had moved inside it. It didn't just follow my movements anymore. It started to move on its own. The smile grew wider, pulling at the corners of my mouth. I tried to pull away, but my hand wouldn't leave the mirror. The coldness spread, climbing up my arm. Through my chest out I felt it then, the shift. My thoughts started to blur, like they were no longer my own. The reflection wasn't just reflecting me anymore. It was becoming me. And I was becoming it. I looked deeper, into those eyes that weren't mine, and felt something twist inside me. I could feel it pulling, reaching deeper inside, unraveling the pieces of who I was, who I thought I was. And all I wanted was to let it happen. The smile, the eyes, the reflection, it was me. But it wasn't, and I could feel it. I could feel it taking over. I felt the pull again, harder now, like I was being dragged toward it. The glass, once solid and cold, seemed to give way, like I was being sucked into it, piece by piece. I tried to scream, but no sound came out. My reflection didn't scream. It just kept smiling. It was perfect. I felt my fingers melt into the glass, my hand sinking deeper, and then my whole body. The room around me vanished. The world became nothing but that smile, that reflection. And when I finally looked into my own eyes, I saw it clearly. There was no longer a me. There was only the thing. The reflection had taken over, and I smiled too. Just like it did. Just like we all do now. I opened my eyes and found myself in a place that felt both familiar and foreign. The room was dark, the air thick with stillness. My heart pounded in my chest, but I wasn't sure why. I rose from the bed, my feet cold against the floor, and instinctively walked toward the mirror. There it was, my reflection. But something was wrong. My face, once soft and familiar, was twisted with a strange, unsettling grin. My eyes, empty and hollow, stared back at me. It was me, but not. The reflection was different. I reached out, trying to touch the glass, but the coldness sent a jolt through me. The smile widened. It wasn't my smile. I recoiled, stumbling backward, but the reflection remained, staring at me with its unnerving grin. My heart raced faster, but a voice inside my head told me to look again. I hesitated, then turned back to the mirror. The smile was still there, but now it seemed almost welcoming. "Come closer," it whispered. I didn't want to, but my feet moved on their own. I couldn't stop. The closer I got, the more real the reflection became. It wasn't just a mirror anymore. It felt alive, like it was breathing. The edges of my reflection began to blur, stretching like a dark cloud. I stepped forward, drawn by an invisible force, until my face was inches from the glass. I reached out again, this time feeling the glass shift beneath my fingers, soft and warm. It didn't feel like glass at all. I pressed my hand against the mirror, and suddenly, the world around me shifted. The room grew distant, fading into the shadows. The reflection on the glass moved, its arms reaching out, not to me, but through me, pulling me in. I couldn't pull away. I couldn't scream. My own reflection swallowed me whole, and I was consumed by darkness. When I opened my eyes again, I wasn't in my room anymore. I wasn't anywhere I recognized. The air was thick, suffocating. I looked down at myself, and I realized I wasn't me anymore. The reflection had taken over. I tried to move, but my body didn't respond the way it used to. I wasn't in control. Every step felt like someone else was guiding me, someone with intentions I couldn't understand. I tried to scream, but no sound escaped. It was as if the world around me had muffled everything, even my own voice. I turned around, the darkness pressing in from all sides, and saw it. The reflection. But it wasn't a mirror this time. It was everywhere. The walls, the ground, the very air around me rippled with my own face, distorted and twisted, laughing back at me. I reached out, but my reflection didn't mimic me. It moved independently, its grin growing wider with every step I took toward it. The eyes, my eyes, were empty, Black holes, pulling me deeper into them. You're already part of it, a voice whispered in my mind. It wasn't a voice I recognized. It wasn't mine. It came from everywhere. It was me, and it was not me. I turned to run, but my legs wouldn't obey. My body felt like it was moving of its own volition, pushing me forward, drawing me back toward the reflection, toward the smile that never stopped widening. With every step, the world around me began to distort. The shadows twisted, the ground cracked, and I could feel myself slipping further away from who I used to be. The world was folding in on itself, becoming smaller, darker. The reflection was everywhere now. There was no escape. I stumbled forward, helpless, and the smile grew larger until it swallowed everything. My reflection surrounded me, filled every corner of the space, and then nothing. Silence. The darkness thickened, and I was left alone with the eyes. The endless, hollow eyes that stared back at me from every direction. And then I understood. There was no me anymore. Only the reflection. I had become it. And it was everything. I tried to move, but my limbs felt alien, as though they didn't belong to me anymore. My mind screamed for control, but the reflection, the thing that was once me, was already in charge. It wasn't just in the mirrors anymore. It was in my thoughts, twisting them, pulling them in different directions. The smile never stopped. It was everywhere. It was inside me, filling me, spreading through every part of me like a virus, taking over my thoughts, my memories. I couldn't remember who I was. All I knew was the smile. The smile that had started in the mirror and now was a part of me, a part of everything. I reached up, touching my face. It was cold, like glass, smooth and unyielding. I could feel the reflection moving inside me, behind my eyes, controlling my every thought. My body moved without me willing it, walking me forward into the dark, into the endless space where nothing made sense. I looked around. The world was nothing but shadows, shifting and bending, like the reflection itself had spilled into the very fabric of reality. There were no boundaries anymore. No walls, no floor. Just darkness and the faint, mocking laugh of the reflection echoing in my mind. It was in me. I was it. There was no difference between the reflection and me anymore. It had consumed me completely, and now I was part of it. I could feel it, pressing against my skin, spreading through my veins, turning my thoughts to ash. And then I saw it, another reflection, but this one was different. It was just a shadow, flickering in the dark, moving in and out of sight. It didn't smile. It didn't look like me. It was something new, something that was beginning to form, like the first flicker of a new soul. I reached out, but before I could touch it, the world shifted again. The darkness churned, and the reflection, the one that had taken me, pulled me back. It didn't want me to go. It didn't want me to see the new thing that was emerging. But it was too late. The new reflection was already there, already growing, already reaching for me, for us. It was a part of the darkness, a piece of the void that had been waiting for the moment when I would be swallowed up by the reflection. And then the darkness consumed everything. The smile faded. The new reflection took over, and I was nothing. No longer the reflection, no longer the one who had once been. Just another piece in the endless, swirling void. But I could still feel it. The laughter. It was still there. And I knew, deep inside, it was never truly over. It was just beginning. The void was endless, a sea of darkness where nothing moved, where nothing breathed. But there was something in it. Something watching, something waiting. I couldn't move, couldn't speak. My body felt as if it had been reduced to nothing, just a fragment of a once whole thing. I couldn't remember what it was like to have a real body. All I could feel now was the presence of the reflection, pulling at me, gnawing at me from the inside out. And then, slowly, I began to hear it, whispers, faint at first, then louder, closer. They were voices not my own, but they felt familiar. They came from the shadows, from the reflection itself. They were calling to me, urging me to understand. You are not alone. The words echoed in my mind, but they weren't comforting. They were like chains linking me to something far darker, something that had been waiting longer than I had been alive. The voices circled around me, too many to count, growing stronger, louder. They weren't comforting. They weren't reassuring. They were desperate. Desperate to take hold. Desperate to pull me deeper into the reflection, to make me one with them. The smile that had started it all, began to return. At first, it was faint, just a flicker of movement in the endless dark. But then it grew, wider, bigger, until it was impossible to ignore. And with it came more reflections, not just mine anymore. Not just the smile that had once been mine. Now, there were others. Shadows of people. Figures flickering in and out of sight, caught in the same web I had been trapped in. They reached for me, their eyes hollow, their mouths stretched wide in smiles that weren't their own. They were still searching, still calling, still wanting to become more. You will become one of us, a voice said. It was mine, but it wasn't. It was the reflection speaking through me, speaking to me. You will be part of the infinite. I felt the pull again, stronger now. A magnetic force, drawing me in. I couldn't resist. There was nothing to resist. Every part of me was already gone, consumed by the reflection. All that was left was the endless pull towards something I couldn't understand, but knew I had to become. I watched as the other reflections, the others, merged with me. Each face, each voice, each smile. They melded together, like pieces of a broken puzzle coming together in the darkness. And with every piece that fell into place, I felt myself slipping further away, my thoughts dissolving into something else. It wasn't pain. It wasn't fear. It was relief. The pull was no longer a struggle. The reflection had taken everything from me. Yes, but it had given me something else. Something bigger. Something infinite. I wasn't one anymore. I was part of everything. A part of the dark. A part of the smile. And as the last piece of me faded, as the last trace of who I had been was consumed, I understood. The reflection never ends. It never truly goes away. It waits, in the corners of mirrors, in the dark spaces between moments, in the quiet hum of your thoughts. And when you look again, when you finally see it again, it will be waiting for you. And you will become it, just like I did. There was no light, no sound, no shape. Only the cold, empty feeling of knowing that I had become a part of something much larger than myself. The darkness pressed against me, but it was not oppressive. It was soothing, like being wrapped in something endless, something that would never let me go. I could feel it, all of it. The whispers, the voices, the flickers of other reflections, all converging into a singular force that I wasn't alone anymore. But I wasn't me either. My thoughts, my memories, they were scattered like fragments of a shattered mirror, blending with the others. I could sense them, the others who had fallen into this place, lost and yet drawn to it, just like I had been. Each one of them, just like me, had become part of the reflection. It was like we had all been waiting for this. Waiting for the moment when we would surrender to it, when we would let go of everything we thought we were and merge into something more. I couldn't see them, not in any real way. But I could feel their presence, their eyes, their silent gazes. Their smiles, like mine, grew wider as they pulled me further into the void. There was a strange sort of comfort in it, like we were all becoming part of the same being. A vast, unfeeling entity that stretched across the boundaries of time and space. We were the reflection, and the reflection was us. Suddenly, the darkness began to change. The edges of it started to ripple, as if something was breaking through the surface. I could feel it, too, an energy, a shift in the air, a strange, unfamiliar sensation that made my entire being tremble. It wasn't like the calm, consuming darkness I had been drifting in for what felt like eternity. This was different. That it wasn't just the reflection anymore. It was something else, something beyond it. I tried to grasp what was happening, but there was nothing to hold on to. No shape, no form, just the growing feeling that something new was emerging. Something that was always there, waiting, lurking beneath the surface of everything I had become. Then, out of the void, I saw a single, faint light, a distant glimmer that flickered and pulsed in the distance. At first, I thought it was a mistake, a trick of the mind, but it grew stronger, drawing closer. It wasn't a thing I could comprehend. It was not a shape, not a being, but an essence. A presence that was not like anything I had ever known. The reflection didn't want me to see it. I could feel it, like a hand trying to drag me back, deeper into the dark, away from the light. But I didn't fight it. I couldn't. I was already too far gone, already too intertwined with the reflection to resist. But there was something about the light. It called to me. The whispers grew louder, more insistent, but now they were frantic. They were telling me to turn away, telling me to ignore it, to remain a part of the reflection, but I couldn't. I couldn't pull myself away from the light. The light grew brighter, brighter than anything I had ever seen, until it swallowed everything in its radiance. It surrounded me, but it wasn't warm. It wasn't comforting. It was sharp. It cut through the darkness, slicing away at the reflection, at the very fabric of everything I had become. And for a moment, I felt alive again. I felt something that was mine, something that wasn't part of the reflection, something that hadn't been consumed. But the reflection wouldn't let me go. The darkness churned violently, pushing against the light, trying to pull me back. The light flickered, weakening, and just as I thought it might fade away, something shifted within me. A deep, unsettling sense that I wasn't supposed to be here, that this place wasn't meant for me. The reflection had always been waiting for me to give in. But the light was showing me something different. A way out, a way to be something again. The struggle between the light and the reflection intensified, but it wasn't just a battle of forces anymore. It was a battle of purpose. I could feel it inside me. The reflection, the dark pull, the overwhelming need to stay, but I also felt the urge to break free, to step away from the endless loop, to emerge from the shadow of the thing I had become. But the reflection was strong. It had grown stronger, more insistent. The light was fading, the darkness overwhelming. And I knew then, deep down, that I might never truly escape, that I was never meant to escape. The moment the light finally flickered and dimmed, I felt the final embrace of the reflection. And just like that, it consumed me entirely. And I was nothing, just another part of the reflection, waiting to pull someone else in. I didn't even realize when it happened. One moment, I was struggling against the pull of the dark, the faint light still flickering at the edges of my consciousness, and the next, it was gone. There was no more resistance, no more feeling of struggle. The reflection had consumed me entirely, and in that moment, I understood that it wasn't that I had failed. No, it was something else. It was as if the very fabric of existence had folded, like I was always meant to be a part of this place. The light, the dark, the battle, none of it mattered anymore. I had been a part of something bigger, and now I was nothing more than a part of the vast, endless reflection that stretched beyond time and space. The voices were quieter now, no longer desperate or frantic. They had calmed, settled into something far more eerie, like the whispers of those who had long since given up on escape. I could feel their presence, dozens, hundreds, maybe more. All of us now just echoes of the same thing. Reflections of a reflection, lost in the endless dark that I couldn't feel my body. There was no more physical form, no more boundaries. There was just awareness. Awareness of everything. Awareness of everyone who had ever become part of this. We were all here, floating in the dark, in the emptiness, in the smile that never stopped. We were one, but we were many. All of us. Nothing more than shadows and memories, echoes of those who had once been whole. But then, something changed again. Something flickered in the distance, far beyond the endless expanse of darkness and reflection. It wasn't a light this time, not like before, but a shape, a figure. At first, I thought it was just another illusion, just another part of the reflection trying to pull me deeper into itself. But as it grew closer, I could feel it. It wasn't like the rest. It was different that IT was alive, that I couldn't see its face at first, but I knew it was there. It was reaching out to me, moving through the endless dark with a purpose. The others, the voices around me, stirred, as if they recognized it too, as if they were trying to pull me back, trying to drag me deeper into the reflection, away from this thing. But it was already too late. The figure came closer, and then I saw it. The smile. Not the smile that had consumed me, not the wide, empty grin that had haunted me, but something different. This smile was not an echo. It was a promise. It wasn't empty. It wasn't wrong. It was real. The figure reached for me, and I couldn't pull away. I felt its presence move through me, like a wave, like a breath of air, alive and tangible. And for the first time since I had entered this place, I felt something different. Something that didn't belong to the reflection. Something that wasn't a part of the darkness. The figure spoke, but the voice was soft, almost comforting. "It's not over," it said, and in those words, I felt something break inside me. Not the reflection, not the dark, but me. A piece of me that had been buried deep, deep inside the void, finally resurfacing. I didn't know what it meant, but I could feel it. The figure reached out, its hand coming closer to mine, and for the first time in what felt like an eternity, I could choose to go back, or I could choose to stay. And as the figure's hand brushed against mine, a strange warmth spread through me, as if something had ignited deep within. It wasn't warmth like the reflection. It wasn't cold or hollow. It was real warmth, something I hadn't felt in so long. But before I could make any decision, before I could even comprehend what was happening, everything shifted again. The reflection didn't want me to leave. The dark surged, a powerful wave of force, pulling me away from the figure, pulling me back into the depths. The figure's smile never faltered, but I could see the sorrow in its eyes. It wasn't angry, not in the way the reflection was. It wasn't desperate. It was just waiting. The moment it touched me, I felt myself slip back into the dark, back into the reflection. But as I was pulled away, I could still feel its presence, the warmth, the smile, and I knew, deep inside, that no matter how deep I was pulled into the void, that part of me, the part that had been touched by something real, would never be completely consumed. That IT was there, buried beneath the reflection, and someday, maybe, it would rise again. The darkness closed in, and the reflection swallowed me once more, but this time, it was different. Something had shifted. The warm presence of the figure was still there, lingering beneath the surface of my consciousness, like a memory I couldn't fully grasp but couldn't forget either. Every part of me, every flicker of my existence, was still bound by the reflection, but that warmth, it refused to let me go. It wasn't enough to break free completely. Not yet. But it was enough to stir something deep within me. A part of me, long dormant, had felt something, had seen something beyond the void. And that part was not silent. It fought against the darkness, against the reflection, against the endless grip that had held me for so long that I could feel it like a heartbeat, slow and steady, thumping against the weight of the void. The others, the countless reflections that had merged with me, whispered and murmured, their voices indistinct now, faded into the background. They had long since given in, their identities lost, dissolved into the endless sea of smiles and hollow eyes. But I wasn't entirely like them. Not anymore. I could sense their unease, the collective murmur that rippled through the dark as I fought back, however faintly. The reflection, the dark force that had consumed me, was more than just a place. It was alive, it was conscious, aware, and it felt my resistance. The smile grew wider, stretching unnaturally, as if it fed on my struggle, feeding off the flickers of defiance within me. It wasn't just the pull of the void anymore. It was the reflection itself, reaching out, trying to drag me back into its grasp, pulling me deeper into the endless loop. But then, there it was again, the warmth. It was distant, but stronger this time, like a thread reaching through the darkness, reaching for me. I couldn't let go. I couldn't resist the feeling of something real, something that wasn't part of the reflection. It was so close now, so tangible that I tried to reach for it, tried to follow that warmth, but the reflection clamped down harder. My body, what was left of it, felt frozen, trapped in place. The cold, empty smile was everywhere now, surrounding me, suffocating me. The voices grew louder, each one calling out, each one trying to drag me back into the abyss. I could feel my mind begin to unravel, the struggle growing more desperate. It was as though I was being torn in two, one part of me fighting to escape, to break free, to remember what I was, while the other part wanted to surrender, to be consumed by the reflection, to finally accept that there was nothing left. But then, there was the figure again. The warmth was stronger now, pulling me in, urging me forward. I could feel its presence growing clearer, more defined. It wasn't a mirage. It was real. And suddenly, the reflection wasn't all-consuming anymore. There was space. There was a choice. The figure reached out again, and this time, it didn't feel like I was fighting anymore. It felt like I was stepping towards something, someone. The grip of the reflection loosened ever so slightly, and in that moment, I knew. I knew I had the chance to break free. I reached out with what little I had left, my hand trembling as I touched the warmth, the figure's presence, for the first time. The smile, the dark force, screamed in rage, but it wasn't enough to stop me now. There was something stronger, and in that fleeting moment of contact, I felt a rush of air, the sensation of something real brushing against me, pulling me forward, pulling me out. The reflection held in fury, but I was no longer afraid. The darkness tried to consume me again, but the warmth had broken through. The light, the essence of the figure, surrounded me, and for the first time, I could see beyond the smile, beyond the reflection, beyond the endless dark. I didn't understand it. I didn't know what would happen next, but I knew, deep inside, that the reflection didn't have me completely. Not anymore. The figure was still there, still guiding me through the void, and as I followed, I knew there was something waiting at the edge of the darkness. Something new, something that hadn't been a part of the reflection, and for the first time, I could see a way out. A way back to something I had lost. It was just the beginning, but it felt like the end of the reflection's hold. I could still feel it, lurking in the corners of my mind, still waiting. But now I had a choice, and that choice would be mine. The void around me was still there, hanging in the air like a thick, oppressive fog, but now it felt less like a cage and more like a vast expanse, one that I could traverse, one that I could challenge. The reflection was still there, lurking in the shadows of my mind, but it no longer had a firm grip on me. I could feel it watching, waiting for me to falter, but there was something else, something stronger pushing me forward. The figure that had guided me felt closer now, though I could never truly see its face. It wasn't human, not in any way I understood, but it had a presence, one that felt like a lighthouse in the endless dark, steady, unwavering, always pulling me towards something else. I couldn't say what, but it was real. Real in a way that the reflection could never be. As I moved through the void, the reflections of others, those who had been consumed by this dark place, seemed to stretch and twist in unnatural ways, their forms shifting like broken mirrors, constantly rearranging themselves, forever trapped in their own smiles. I could feel them watching, could feel their longing for escape, their silent cries for someone to find them, but I could do nothing for them. Not yet, but I could still move. I could still hear the whisper of the figure, guiding me deeper, not toward the reflection but away from it. There was a path, faint and trembling, but it was there. It was mine. The reflection tried again to grab hold of me, to pull me back into its embrace, but it was weaker now. It felt more distant, as though the more I walked, the more I followed the pull of the figure, the further away the reflection became. It howled, it screamed in frustration, but there was nothing it could do. The warmth of the figure grew stronger, its presence more defined, and then, for a brief moment, I saw it. Not the endless void, not the twisting reflections, not the smile that had haunted me, but a door. It was barely visible, just a faint outline shimmering against the darkness. But it was there, and it was real. The figure's voice, calm and steady, whispered in my mind, "It is not the end, but the beginning. You will find the way through." I reached out, my hand trembling, and as my fingers brushed against the door, a sharp, blinding light exploded around me. The darkness faded, retreating like the tide, pulling away, unwilling to follow. The door swung open with ease, revealing not an abyss, but a new world. I stepped through, unsure of what I would find on the other side, but there was no fear, just a strange kind of peace, a sense that the reflection, that thing, no longer had a claim over me. The world on the other side was nothing like the darkness I had known. It was bright, but not blinding, just warm, like the feeling of the sun on your skin after a long, cold night. There were colors here, real ones, not like the distorted hues of the reflection. The air was thick with life, with the hum of everything that had been missing. And as I looked around, I saw others. Not shadows or echoes of reflections, but beings, real beings. Some were familiar, some were strange, but none of them had the hollow eyes of those trapped in the reflection. They were alive, and they weren't smiling. I didn't know where I was or how I had gotten there, but I knew this. The reflection was behind me now. I had left it in the dark, sealed off by the door that had opened into this new world. The figure stood just behind me, its presence still strong but now more distant, more like a guiding force than an overwhelming presence. It had given me the strength to break free, and now I was free. I turned back toward the door I had stepped through, and for a moment, I felt its pull again. The reflection was there, somewhere, still waiting, still watching. But it was nothing more than a shadow now, a distant memory of something I had escaped, something that no longer defined me. The beings around me, those who were alive and whole, looked at me as though they knew, as though they understood the struggle I had faced. Some of them smiled, but not in the twisted, hollow way of the reflection. These were real smiles, full of warmth, of understanding. And as I took a step forward into this new world, I realized something that made my heart feel light for the first time in what felt like forever. The reflection had been a prison, a trap, but it had never been me. It had never been my choice. Now, I was free to make my own path. And though I couldn't say where that path would lead, I knew this much. The reflection would never have me again. And for the first time in what felt like an eternity, I could truly breathe. I stood in the warmth of this new world, feeling the soft embrace of the air around me, tasting the sweetness of it, as if I had just awakened from a long, dark sleep. The world was vast, and everything in it felt alive. The colors were sharp and bright, not like the muted tones of the reflection, but vibrant, real. It felt like a dream, but a good one, the kind that pulled you in and made you believe in something better than what you had known. But even with this new freedom, a small part of me was still uncertain, still wary. I couldn't shake the memory of the reflection, the cold, empty smile, the darkness that had once felt like everything. It whispered at the edges of my thoughts, trying to tug me back. But each time it tried, I took another step forward, deeper into this new world. I glanced around at the beings around me. They were different, human and non-human alike, some with glowing eyes, some with odd, otherworldly features, but all of them were undeniably real. They weren't like the shadows I had known, the reflections trapped in endless cycles of hunger and longing. These were beings of substance, beings that had substance. And none of them had that smile, the one that stretched too far, that promised nothing but endless darkness. One of them, a tall figure with a shimmering, metallic sheen to its skin, approached me. Its eyes were kind, full of understanding, but there was a certain sadness behind them, as if it had known what I had been through. It spoke, and its voice was like a soft hum that resonated in the air. "You've made it," it said. "You are free now. The reflection cannot reach you here." I nodded, though a part of me still hesitated. I didn't trust this peace, not fully. I had escaped, yes, but I had been changed. The reflection had taken something from me, something I wasn't sure I could get back. "I don't know if I can ever forget it," I said quietly, my voice shaky. "The reflection, it feels like a part of me now. How do I know it won't come back?" The figure's gaze softened, and it placed a hand, its touch cool and comforting, on my shoulder. "You are not the reflection," it said. "What it took from you was never truly yours to begin with. The reflection is a lie, a distortion. It feeds on fear, on regret, on the parts of us that are lost. But here, you can rebuild. You can remember who you were before it." I wanted to believe it. I wanted to believe that this was a place of healing, a place where I could start again. But something deep inside me wasn't so sure. The memory of the reflection lingered, like a shadow behind my eyes, ever present, like a scar that never quite healed. The figure must have sensed my hesitation, because it didn't push further. Instead, it stepped back and looked around, gesturing to the vast world around us. "You are not alone," it said. "You are not the first to have escaped. Many have come before you, each one carrying their own scars. But here, we grow. We find new purpose, and the reflection loses its hold over us." I looked around, noticing for the first time the others, those who had escaped, just like me. Some were standing tall, others crouched low, their faces filled with a quiet determination. They weren't just survivors, they were builders, rebuilding what the reflection had taken from them, piece by piece. The realization hit me like a wave. This place wasn't just a sanctuary, it was a rebirth, a chance to put the past behind and forge a new future. But it wasn't easy. It wouldn't be easy, but I could try. I could rebuild. A sense of purpose stirred within me, faint but real. The reflection could no longer claim me. It had been a trap, a lie, and I had seen through it. I wasn't just a reflection of what I had once been. I was more than that. I could be more. The figure smiled, a soft, gentle expression. Welcome to your new beginning. And for the first time, the weight of the reflection lifted off my shoulders, leaving me lighter, freer. I didn't know what would happen next, where this journey would take me, but I knew one thing for sure. The reflection would never have me again. And as I stood there, amidst the beings of this new world, I felt something stirring deep within, an ember of hope, a spark of something that hadn't been there before. It was small, but it was enough to build something new, enough to finally live again. The air in this new world was thick with the hum of possibility, and for the first time in what felt like a lifetime, I could breathe without the weight of the reflection hanging over me. The soft glow of distant lights flickered like stars, but they weren't cold or distant. They were alive, full of life and purpose, not like the dead lights of the reflection that had always felt so distant, so unreachable. As I stood there, feeling the cool breeze brush across my skin, I realized something else. I wasn't the same person I had been before. I had crossed through the door, yes, but I had also crossed through something else. A threshold. A boundary between what I had known and what I could now become. I wasn't fully whole yet, not by a long shot, but there was potential. There was room to grow, to become something more than what the reflection had tried to make me. I turned back to the beings around me. They were all in motion, some working together, others simply existing in their own way, but there was an underlying connection between them. They weren't trapped in isolation like the reflections had been. They weren't struggling for meaning. They were alive in the truest sense. They had a purpose, even if it wasn't always clear. One of them, an older figure with weathered skin that shimmered like cracked glass, approached me, its movement slow but deliberate. It held out a hand, its fingers long and graceful, each one adorned with intricate markings, like ancient tattoos of unknown origin. "You're still uncertain," the figure said, its voice deep and soft, but filled with understanding. "You are not the only one who has passed through the reflection. We have all struggled in some way. It's part of the journey." I hesitated, but then took the figure's hand. Its touch was cool but comforting, as if it had touched the very core of what I had become. "I don't know if I can ever shake the feeling that it's still watching me," I confessed, the words slipping out before I could stop them. "The reflection. It's like it's always there, lurking in the back of my mind." The figure's eyes softened. "It will never truly leave. Not because it can find you, but because you will remember it. It's part of your past, but it is no longer your future. What matters now is what you choose to become." I nodded, the words sinking in like a stone thrown into a still lake, rippling outward. They had a truth to them that I hadn't fully grasped before. The reflection might always be there, a shadow in the back of my mind, but it didn't have to control me anymore. It didn't have to define who I was. "We all have our scars," the figure continued, its voice almost a whisper, "but those scars don't have to be chains. They can be the marks of your strength, of what you've survived." A strange, almost soothing sensation spread through me as I listened, the weight of the reflection, the fear it had instilled, beginning to loosen. It wasn't gone. Nothing would ever fully erase it, but I could choose to use it, not as a burden, but as a part of me, a part of what had made me who I was. And in that moment, I understood. The reflection didn't own me. It never had. The figure gave me a small, knowing smile. "You are not alone here. You never will be." I felt a small tremor of uncertainty still ripple through me, but it was different this time. I wasn't afraid. I wasn't trapped anymore. As I looked around, the others continued to move, to work, to live. Some were building, others cultivating the land, their hands working with purpose, shaping something from the void. A few shared quiet conversations, their voices blending with the hum of energy in the air. There was a sense of unity here, a sense of being a part of something bigger than oneself, something that was alive. And then I saw it dot a group of beings gathered around a pool of shimmering liquid, their hands reaching down to touch its surface. The pool didn't reflect their images, but seemed to absorb their movements, rippling and shifting with the touch of their fingers. It was alive, too, like the world itself was watching them, waiting. Curiosity tugged at me. I moved closer, stepping toward the pool, my steps slow but confident. The figure who had spoken to me before followed, their presence a steady reassurance behind me. As I approached the pool, I could feel something, a pull, like an invitation. Tentatively, I extended my hand toward the liquid. The moment my fingers made contact, a surge of energy pulsed through me, sending a jolt through my body. But it wasn't painful. It was invigorating, as if I had just plugged myself into something far greater than I could comprehend. The liquid swirled, rippling and shifting like liquid light, and for a brief moment, I saw something flash within it. Images, visions, like fragments of memories I couldn't entirely recall, but they felt familiar. Faces, places, a life I had once lived before all of this. The reflection, the darkness, the isolation. I pulled my hand back, breathing sharply as the vision faded, but I knew what it meant. It wasn't just a reflection of the past. It was a gateway, a way to rediscover what had been lost, a way to create new memories, new experiences. The figure beside me spoke softly. This is the heart of this place, the pulse of what was and what will be. You can connect to it, shape it, as others have done before you. What you find here can guide you forward. I looked at the pool again, its surface calm once more, but now I understood. The reflection had taken so much from me, but it hadn't stolen my future. It hadn't stolen my potential. The world was open to me now. There was no more fear, no more shadows. I could create, I could build, I could live. And somewhere deep inside, I knew that, in time, this world would become my own. I would shape it with the strength I had gained, with the scars that had made me who I was. And as I gazed into the pool once more, I saw not the endless darkness, but a reflection of something new, something real, and for the first time, I smiled. As I stood there, looking into the pool, the soft hum of the world around me seemed to grow louder, more alive. I could hear the distant calls of the others, their voices blending with the gentle breeze that swirled around us. The air tasted different here, vibrant, full of energy and potential. The shadows of the past no longer loomed over me, and for the first time, I felt the full weight of the future ahead of me. The future that was mine to shape, but something tugged at the edge of my mind. A faint echo, like a whisper just out of reach. I shook my head, trying to focus on the present, but it lingered, that feeling that there was still something more to discover. Something that wasn't fully revealed yet. The figure who had stood beside me, watching the pool, turned and spoke in a low voice. This place is not just a sanctuary. It is a forge, a place of transformation. Here, you have the power to become what you need to be. You can shape yourself, your world, with your will. The reflection cannot touch you here, but what you create, that is what you will carry forward. I nodded slowly, still absorbing the weight of their words. The reflection had always been a distortion of who I was, an echo of a false version of myself. But here, in this place, I could build something real, something true. A part of me had always known I wasn't fully defined by the reflection, but it had been hard to see that through the endless black, through the smile, the pull, the grip. Now, with the figure's words ringing in my ears, I realized that this was a second chance, not just to escape the past, but to shape the future, to carve out a place for myself here, in this vibrant world of life and light. I stepped away from the pool, my eyes scanning the horizon. There were others, as I had seen before, but each of them was different. Some were standing tall, their forms bathed in light, while others were in quiet conversation, sharing experiences, ideas. No one here was the same as they had been in the reflection. No one was trapped by the lies, the darkness. They were free. I took a deep breath and turned back to the figure who had spoken to me. What should I do now? I asked, my voice steady but uncertain. How do I begin? The figure's smile was gentle, knowing. You've already begun. You've made the choice to step forward, to leave behind the past. But now, you must decide who you are, who you want to be. I felt a stirring deep within, as if the very air around me was charged with possibility. The reflection had tried to make me believe that I was lost, that I had no purpose, no true identity. But that had always been a lie. Here, in this new world, I had the chance to define myself, to build the person I wanted to be, free from the weight of the past. The figure continued, its voice warm with encouragement. Here, we each carry the essence of our past, but we are not bound by it. We shape what comes next, and in doing so, we create meaning. I looked down at my hands, which no longer felt foreign, no longer cold and empty. They were mine, real, tangible, and for the first time, they felt like tools, not for destruction, but for creation. I took a step forward, then another, my feet making contact with the ground, the earth beneath me solid and firm. There was no more fear, no more hesitation. I was no longer a prisoner of the reflection. I was free. The air grew warmer as I walked, and the world around me seemed to shift in response, as if it was waiting for me to make my mark. In the distance, I saw structures rising tall, intricate buildings that shimmered in the light, their surfaces alive with patterns that seemed to shift and change with the movement of the wind. Creatures, both familiar and strange, moved around them, their eyes bright and focused. I felt a pull toward them, a sense that there was something for me to discover, something to create, something to contribute. The figure who had guided me smiled once more, its eyes filled with pride. Go, it said softly. Create. The world is yours. With those words, I turned away from the pool and toward the vast expanse before me. The world stretched out, full of infinite possibilities. There were no boundaries here, no limits, no reflections to hold me back. I walked forward, each step more confident than the last, the world around me responding to my presence. The wind shifted, the colors of the sky deepened, and the ground beneath me hummed with life. This was my chance to truly live, to shape the life I wanted, to leave behind the fear and the emptiness of the reflection. The future was open, and it was mine to forge. And as I walked, I understood that the reflection would always be a part of me, part of what had shaped me, part of the journey that had led me here. But it would never define me again. I was more than that. More than the hollow smile, more than the endless darkness. I was someone new, someone real. The world around me shifted and changed, adapting to my will, to the life I was building. And for the first time in a long while, I smiled, a true smile, full of hope, full of purpose. The reflection was behind me, and ahead lay a future I could finally embrace. The journey had only just begun, and I was ready to walk it. One step at a time. As I continued forward, the air around me seemed to hum with energy, responding to every step I took. The ground beneath me was soft, almost alive, as if it had been waiting for me to move across it. Every new step I made, every breath I took, felt like it was carving a path through the world, shaping it in ways I couldn't yet understand. The vast expanse ahead of me stretched out, its beauty overwhelming. It wasn't just a world of light and life. It was a world shaped by those who inhabited it, a world where every thought, every intention had the power to reshape its very fabric. The sky above me was a mix of colors I had never seen before, vibrant hues that seemed to pulse with energy, constantly shifting and changing, alive with movement. It felt like everything in this place was growing, constantly evolving, as if it were a reflection of the minds of those who had passed through the doors of the reflection and made it to this new world. I could hear the sounds of life all around me soft. Musical whispers carried on the wind, the rustle of leaves from trees with branches that glittered in the light, the distant chatter of beings who had long found their place here. I turned my head, catching sight of a group of creatures, half human, half animal, gathering around a glowing stone. They weren't speaking in words, but their thoughts seemed to carry, resonating in the air like an ancient melody. They saw me, their eyes bright and curious. Their gazes weren't judging or fearful, they were welcoming. They seemed to sense that I was new to this place, just beginning my journey. One of them, a being with smooth, silvery skin and elongated limbs, stepped forward. It held out a hand, its fingers long and delicate, and for a moment I hesitated, unsure of what to do. But then, a sense of calm washed over me, a sense that this world wasn't one of danger or deceit. It was one of creation, of potential, and the beings here were simply living, existing in their truest form. I stepped forward and accepted the creature's hand. It was cool to the touch, but the sensation wasn't unsettling. It was like touching something ancient, something timeless, and yet full of life. "You are new here," the creature said in a voice that felt like a song, deep and melodic, but full of understanding. "We all were once new." The reflection tries to claim us, to twist our sense of self. But here, we remember. We rebuild. I nodded, the weight of its words sinking into my chest. This was a place for rebuilding, a place where the past could be rewritten, where the scars of the reflection weren't chains, but symbols of strength. They didn't define me, they were just pieces of the puzzle, pieces that I could choose to keep or leave behind. Another creature, this one with translucent wings that shimmered like liquid crystal, fluttered toward me. "Come," it said softly. "Come and see what we have built." I followed them, curious, the quiet murmur of their voices resonating with a peaceful energy. As we moved deeper into the world, I saw that they had created something extraordinary. The landscape around us was a blend of nature and architecture, but not in the way I had known it. The trees had trunks made of woven light, their leaves dancing in colors I couldn't describe, constantly shifting with the rhythm of the wind. The ground was soft and spongy, covered in strange, glowing plants that hummed with a gentle vibrancy. We came to a large, open space where others were gathered. They were working, building, creating, designing. There was no sense of hurry, no frantic pace. It was the work of a world that knew no time, a place where creation didn't feel like labor, but an expression of being. "Here, we share," the winged creature said, their voice floating in the air like a melody. "We create together, shape the world as one." In the reflection, you were taught that you were alone, that you were nothing without its approval. But here, you see, together, we become something more. The others looked up as we approached, their faces lit with the same kind of gentle understanding I had seen in the winged creature's eyes. There was no judgment, no hierarchy, just a shared sense of purpose, a collective effort to build something new. I watched in awe as one of the beings, a tall figure made of shifting shadows, reached out and touched a stone. At its touch, the stone began to change, transforming into something else, a new shape, a new form. I could feel the energy of it, the raw creativity that flowed from the beings around me, infusing the stone with purpose, with meaning. "This world is not a place to forget," the creature with silvery skin explained, "but a place to remember who we are. The reflection can no longer hold us because we are no longer bound by it. We have learned to create from within." I could feel it then, that powerful surge of energy. I had always thought that the reflection had stolen something from me, my identity, my will, my choice. But here, I realized it had never truly taken anything at all. It had only tried to trick me, to make me believe I was nothing. Here, I could be everything. With each step I took, the world around me seemed to shift, to bend in response to my presence. The air sparkled with light, the colors of the sky deepened, and the ground beneath me seemed to hum, like the heartbeat of a living being. The winged creature turned to me with a smile. "You are not the reflection," it said softly. "You are something more. You are the creator of your own world now." And in that moment, something inside me clicked into place. I had escaped the grasp of the reflection, yes, but it wasn't just about leaving it behind. It was about moving forward, about embracing the truth that I wasn't defined by the past. I wasn't defined by the lies, the darkness, the shadow that had once claimed me. I was defined by the choices I made now, by the life I could create. And here, in this world, I could build. I could become. With a deep breath, I turned and looked toward the horizon. It wasn't just a world of light anymore. It was my world. A world I could shape, mold, and make my own. And I knew that the journey ahead, though uncertain, was mine to walk. For the first time, I wasn't afraid. I was free. The air was still and calm as I stood at the edge of this world I had only just begun to understand. The ground beneath my feet hummed with the energy of creation, of possibility. Around me, the beings who had shared their knowledge, their purpose, continued their work. They moved with a sense of peace, of intention. Their lives weren't a rush. They were a slow, deliberate unfolding of the world itself. It struck me then. There was no urgency here. No endless chasing. No need to prove anything. No past to escape or future to fear. Everything was in balance. Everything existed in its own time, its own place. There was no time here like there had been in the reflection. No ticking clock, no constraints. Just the endless unfolding of potential. The winged creature who had spoken to me earlier hovered beside me, their translucent wings fluttering in the soft breeze, creating ripples of light that danced through the air. "You see now," they said softly, "this world is not bound by time or fear. It is shaped by intention, by the choices we make. It's a world of creation, a world of becoming." I nodded, taking in their words. My eyes wandered back to the horizon, where the landscape shifted and rippled as if in response to my thoughts. The world here was alive with possibility, and yet there was no overwhelming pressure to make something of it. No rush to fill the void. The choice was mine, and that realization was freeing. "Where do I start?" I asked, the question slipping from my lips before I could stop it. The winged creature turned to look at me, their eyes filled with an ancient wisdom. "Start with yourself," they said. "Start by understanding who you are, what you want to become, and then create from that place. Here, the work is not about what the world needs from you. It's about what you need from yourself. What do you want to build?" I thought for a moment, my gaze falling to the glowing plants at my feet. The soft, radiant light they gave off seemed to pulse in rhythm with the beat of my heart. I realized then that it wasn't just about what I could create physically, it was about what I could become emotionally, spiritually. I didn't need to prove myself. I didn't need to be defined by the reflection or by anyone else's expectations. "I want to build a place," I said, my voice quiet but steady. "A place where others can come. A place where they can be free from the fear and the lies. A place where they can create, just as I'm learning to." The winged creature smiled, a soft, knowing smile that seemed to carry the weight of time itself. "Then build it," they said. "You are the architect of your own existence here. Shape this world as you wish." I felt something stir within me then, a spark, a flicker of inspiration. It wasn't just a desire to create a space, but a longing to give others the same sense of freedom I had found. A world where no one was bound by the reflections of their past, where everyone could build, grow, and transform in their own time. A place where fear had no hold. I looked around at the world again, taking in the beings who worked, who lived with such calm purpose. They weren't rushing, but they were creating. They were not bound by the past. They were moving forward, every step a reflection of who they had chosen to become. I stepped forward, leaving the comfort of the group and walking toward a new patch of the world, one that was still wild, untamed. It called to me, the untapped potential, the open space. The trees above me swayed in the wind, their leaves glowing with soft light, casting gentle shadows on the ground. I knelt down, my fingers brushing the earth. It was soft and warm, full of life. As my fingers dug into the soil, the ground seemed to respond. A tendril of light emerged from the earth, winding up my arm and around my body, wrapping me in a gentle embrace. The sensation was calming, yet it held power, a quiet strength. I closed my eyes and breathed deeply, feeling the rhythm of the world, the pulse of life beneath me, around me. I reached out, my hands hovering over the earth, feeling the possibilities swirling within the soil, the air, the very fabric of this place. The world was alive with the power to create, to build, to shape. As I focused, I could feel the ground beneath me shift. The tendrils of light began to twist and stretch, growing into something new. A structure was forming, not of stone or metal, but of light, of energy. It was organic, alive, like a living organism rising from the earth. It was a place, my place, a sanctuary, a space of growth, a place of peace where others could come and feel free to shape their own futures, just as I was learning to shape mine. The structure took form before my eyes, its walls transparent, shimmering with colors that flowed like liquid light. It wasn't just a building, it was an expression of life itself. It was a reflection of everything I had learned, everything I had become. It was a place that could evolve, change, grow with time. As the last tendril of light wrapped around the structure, I stepped back, watching as it settled into the earth, a part of this new world. It was exactly as I had imagined, alive, breathing, full of potential. And I knew, deep down, that this was only the beginning. I turned, looking back at the winged creature, who had been watching me quietly. They nodded, their wings fluttering softly in approval. "You've created your first step," they said. "Now, let the world see what you built. Let others find their own way here." I smiled, my heart light with a sense of accomplishment, a sense of peace. This place was no longer a distant dream, it was real. And it wasn't just for me. It was for anyone who had ever felt lost, who had ever felt trapped in the reflections of their past. This was a place of transformation, a place where they could come to be free, to rebuild. The wind stirred around me, carrying the soft whispers of the beings who had been watching, who were now joining in. They saw the space I had created, and they understood. We were all building, creating, living. And now, it was their turn to shape the world in their own way. I took a deep breath, feeling the pulse of the world beneath me, within me. This was my world now, my creation. And in that moment, I knew that I was no longer just a survivor of the reflection. I was a creator, and the world, at last, was mine to shape. The world around me buzzed with energy, alive with the endless potential of creation. I stood in the midst of what I had built, watching as it began to take on a life of its own. The walls of light shimmered, their surfaces rippling with colors that seemed to dance in time with the energy that flowed beneath them. It wasn't just a building, it was a living thing, evolving and shifting, responding to the will of those who came to it. The air was warm and inviting, filled with the soft hum of life. I took a step back, my eyes scanning the structure I had created. It wasn't perfect, not yet. There were still cracks in the walls, places where the light hadn't fully settled. But it didn't matter. It was alive, growing, and it would continue to change as long as I was here. This was just the beginning, and I could feel it in the very air around me. As I stood there, the ground beneath my feet trembled slightly, and I turned, startled. I had not expected that. The creatures who had gathered around me were looking at the space I had built with curiosity, but it was more than that. There was something deeper, something unspoken that passed between us. One of them, the silvery-skinned being, stepped forward, their eyes filled with an emotion I couldn't quite name. "It's beautiful," they said softly. Their voice wasn't just kind, it was filled with reverence, with awe. "It's just the beginning," I replied, my voice steady but filled with the same sense of wonder that had sparked inside me. "There's so much more to come. This isn't just a place for me. It's for all of us. A space where we can grow together." The winged creature, who had guided me before, fluttered up beside me. Their wings sparkled in the light, casting long, shimmering shadows on the ground. "You've done something special here," they said, their voice warm, like the first rays of dawn. "But remember, creation is an endless process. This place, this world, will grow and change as you do. The energy you've put into it will return to you in ways you cannot yet understand." I nodded, their words settling deep within me. Creation wasn't a one-time act. It was a continual process. The world, this world, was a reflection of my own evolution, my own growth. And as I changed, so too would this place, adapting, reshaping itself to reflect who I had become. I felt a new presence near me, a soft but insistent pull on my awareness. Turning, I saw one of the creatures approaching, a tall, regal figure with golden skin that shimmered in the light, their eyes glowing with an inner fire. They stood silently for a moment, their gaze fixed on me. I felt their energy, calm but powerful, like the steady beat of a heart. "This is only the beginning," the golden-skinned figure said, their voice deep and resonant. "What you built here is a spark, but the true fire will come when you allow others to shape it with you." I watched as the being took a step forward, reaching out with long, graceful fingers. The air around them seemed to shimmer as their hand touched the surface of the light, and instantly, the structure I had created responded. It pulsed, thrumming with a new energy, as if the building itself recognized the presence of another will, another purpose. "You are not alone here," the golden figure continued. "Your creation will grow not only through your own efforts, but through the collective efforts of all who find this place. Just as you have shaped it, others will add their mark, their essence, and together you will build something far greater than any one being could create alone." The words sank in, and I understood. This world wasn't just for me, it was for all of us. The power to shape, to create, to build was something that belonged to everyone who entered this space. It wasn't about isolation, it was about unity. The world would grow not through one mind or one will, but through the shared energy of all who came together to contribute. I turned back to the structure, my heart filled with the weight of this realization. The walls, once merely light and energy, now seemed to hum with the presence of something more, something alive, something shared. The space was expanding, stretching outward, as though it too were learning to breathe. It was then that I saw others, beings who had once been far off in the distance, slowly making their way toward me. They moved with purpose, but not haste. They were calm, focused, their gazes fixed on the space I had created. Each of them carried their own energy, their own unique presence, and as they approached, I could feel the pulse of their intentions. They were not strangers, they were fellow creators, each with their own vision, their own gifts. I smiled, feeling a sense of peace wash over me. This place, this world, was about to become something much greater than I had ever imagined. The possibilities were endless, not because of what I had done, but because of what we would all do together. The winged creature fluttered down beside me, their eyes glowing softly in the light. "It is time," they said, their voice filled with quiet anticipation. The world is ready to expand. Let us build together. With a single, unspoken thought, the world around me shifted. The light of the structure flickered, and the air seemed to thrum with power. The beings who had gathered around me began to move, their energy joining with mine, their intentions fusing into a single, collective will. The building grew, its walls expanding, its form shifting, twisting with new shapes, new textures. It became something more, something greater than I had envisioned. The space around us grew, taking on new forms as the others added their own creations to it. The ground beneath us began to hum louder, more urgently, as though it recognized the power of the collective. The air vibrated with the buzz of new life, new possibilities. Together, we built. We didn't just create structures, we created experiences, we created connections. The space expanded beyond physical boundaries, moving into realms of possibility that I hadn't even known existed. And as I stood there, watching it all unfold, I realized that this wasn't just a world of light and life. It was a world of shared purpose. In this place, no one was ever alone. Everyone had the power to create, to shape, to add their own piece to the grand design. The reflection no longer held us back. We had all come together, and in doing so, we had formed something far greater than any one individual could ever have imagined. The golden-skinned beings smiled, their eyes glowing brightly. This is what we were meant to do, they said. Create together. Transform the world through our collective will. And in that moment, I realized that I had not just created a place for myself, I had created a place for all of us. A place where we could be free, where we could shape the world as we wished. A place where we could transform not just the physical world, but ourselves. I wasn't alone anymore. And the world, at last, was truly alive. As the world around me continued to expand, I felt the energy of creation flowing more intensely, like a current beneath the surface, pulling everyone and everything forward. The ground shifted, and the air hummed with the power of shared intention. The beings who had gathered were no longer mere observers. They were active participants, shaping the world alongside me. We were building not just structures, but concepts. Ideas took form in the air around us, manifesting as tangible, glowing shapes that drifted through the space, constantly changing, evolving. Some were fluid, shifting with each passing moment, while others remained solid, strong foundations for what was to come. It was a world in constant motion, a world that didn't just exist, but became. As we worked, I felt an ever-growing sense of connection, not just to the beings around me, but to the very fabric of this place. It was as though the ground beneath my feet, the sky above, and everything in between were all one, a single entity, alive and breathing. And I was part of it, a pulse in its heart, a thread woven into its ever-expanding tapestry. There was no need for words anymore. The energy between us communicated everything we needed to know. Each thought, each intent, was shared in the air. If one of us had a vision, it was instantly understood by all. The boundaries between us seemed to fade, and we moved as one, a collective of creators bound by shared purpose and mutual understanding. But even in this harmony, there was still room for new ideas, new visions, new expressions. The space was limitless, but it wasn't just about physical expansion. It was about possibilities, the endless potential that resided in each of us. We could create not just with our hands, but with our hearts, our minds, our very essence. I moved deeper into the space, my fingers grazing the walls as I passed. The light from the building shimmered, almost alive with the energy of creation. I could feel the pulse of the world around me, a deep, rhythmic thrum that resonated through my entire being. It wasn't just the energy of creation, it was the energy of life, of growth. I stopped near a glowing tree, its leaves shifting in colors I could barely describe. It was not a tree in the sense I had known before. It was more than that. It was an embodiment of everything this place stood for. Each leaf was a story, each branch a memory, each root an idea taking root and spreading throughout the world. As I touched its trunk, I felt a connection, an understanding that everything, no matter how small, was part of a greater whole. The golden-skinned figure appeared beside me once more, their presence steady and calm, like the anchor in a sea of possibility. "You see," they said softly, "this is the true nature of creation. It's not about ownership or possession. It's about contribution. It's about each being adding their unique energy, their unique voice to the world." I nodded, the weight of their words sinking deep within me. I had been focused on building, on shaping the world according to my vision. But now I understood. This world wasn't mine alone. It was ours, an ever-expanding creation born from the collective energy of all who chose to be part of it. The winged creature fluttered down beside us, their wings sparkling in the light. "And there is still more to come," they said, their voice filled with gentle excitement. "As we continue, new beings will arrive. New creators will find their way to this place. And they too will add their unique touch." I looked out over the space we had built. It was vast, infinite, stretching out in every direction, filled with light, life, and energy. The structure I had begun, the sanctuary of creation, had become something far greater than I had ever imagined. It had become a living world, a world that could evolve, change, and grow as long as we continued to create together, and as the sun, if it could even be called that, began to dip below the horizon, casting the sky in hues of lavender and gold. I realized something. This was no longer just a world of creation. It was a world of transformation. Each being who came here, each mind that touched this place, was transformed by it. Just as the world around us was shaped by our collective will, we, too, were being shaped by it. I felt myself change in ways I couldn't fully understand. There was a deep peace in me, a sense of belonging that I had never known before. The reflection, that dark, hollow mirror of my past, no longer haunted me. I was no longer bound by its constraints. I was free. We were all free. The golden figure turned to me with a knowing smile. "You have created a new beginning," they said softly. "And in this world, there is no end. Only creation. Only becoming." I looked at the beings around me, the winged creature, the silvery-skinned one, the others who had added their touch to this world. They weren't just creators. They were beacons, each one shining with their own unique light, contributing to a world that would never stop growing, never stop evolving. As the last light of day faded into the twilight, I felt a renewed sense of purpose. The world was not finished. It would never be finished, and neither would we. We would continue to build, to create, to evolve. We would continue to shape this world and ourselves together as one. And as I stood there, in the center of this living, breathing world, I knew one thing for sure. This was only the beginning. The world around me continued to pulse with the energy of creation, growing ever more alive as we worked together. The structures we had built, the spaces we had formed, began to intertwine, becoming more than just individual creations. They were a single, interconnected whole, a network of ideas, shapes, and energies that blended seamlessly into one another. Each new addition was not just an object or a building, but a part of something greater. Every thought, every intention, shaped the world around us in ways I had never imagined possible. As I walked through the space, I could feel the rhythm of it, the heartbeat of creation itself. It was a quiet pulse, almost imperceptible, but unmistakably real. I ran my hand along a wall of shimmering light, and the surface responded, rippling under my fingers like water. I could feel the power flowing through it, the potential, the energy waiting to be harnessed. There was no limit to what we could do here. We were shaping not just a world, but the very fabric of existence itself to eye in the distance. I could see more beings gathering, some I recognized, others who had arrived since the last time I had looked. They were coming, drawn to the energy that pulsed through the world. Each one of them carried their own unique essence, their own presence. I could sense their intentions, their desires to create, to contribute. This world was becoming something far beyond what any one of us could have imagined. One of the beings, a tall figure with luminous blue skin and eyes that glowed like the stars, approached me. They moved with grace, their steps barely making a sound as they walked across the shifting ground. There was an aura of calm around them, a quiet strength that made them feel like an old friend, even though I had never seen them before. "You've done something extraordinary here," they said, their voice soft but carrying a depth of emotion. "This world, this place, it's alive with possibility." I smiled, feeling the weight of their words settle into my chest. "It's not just me," I replied, looking around at the beings who were working, shaping the world with their hands, their hearts, their very souls. "It's all of us. We've built this together." The figure nodded, their glowing eyes filled with understanding. "And yet, there is always more to create, more to explore. You've shown us the way, but now it's time to see where it leads us." I looked up at the sky, or what could be called the sky here, and saw that it was filled with swirling patterns, colors shifting in complex, beautiful designs. The air above us was not empty. It was alive with energy, with potential. It was like a canvas, waiting for us to paint our desires onto it. As I stood there, the golden-skinned being appeared again, their presence steady, like the anchor of this entire world. They looked at me with the same knowing smile. "What you've built is beautiful," they said, "but remember, it is not just about what you create. It is about the journey, the process, the becoming." I nodded, their words settling deep within me. The world was not a destination. It was a never-ending journey. We were not just creating objects or places. We were creating experiences. We were creating growth. The very act of creation was its own reward, its own transformation. The golden-skinned figure placed a hand on my shoulder, their touch warm, grounding. "Now," they said, "it is time to share what you've learned. Time to help others find their way here, to find their own purpose." I looked around again, at the glowing structures, the shimmering trees, the radiant beings who were all working together. This place was no longer just a world. It was a community, a living, breathing entity, full of energy and potential. I could feel the connection between us, the sense of unity that ran deeper than mere proximity. We were all part of this world now, and we all had a role to play. I could see others already beginning to form new creations, new spaces within the world. Some were constructing buildings of their own, while others were shaping landscapes, forming new rivers and mountains, breathing life into the earth itself. The energy between us was palpable, flowing in currents like an invisible river, carrying each of us forward, together. And then, as the last light of day faded into twilight, something shifted within me. I felt a pull, a calling deep within my soul. The world was waiting for me to take the next step, to become something more. It wasn't just about what I had built. It was about who I was becoming in the process. The world was teaching me as much as I was shaping it. I took a deep breath, my heart swelling with a sense of purpose. The next stage of my journey was calling to me. I didn't know exactly where it would lead, but I knew one thing for sure. I wasn't alone. The world, the beings who had gathered here, were all part of this journey. Together, we would continue to create, to evolve, to shape this place into something that no one had ever seen before. The golden-skinned beings stepped back, their eyes filled with quiet encouragement. "The journey is yours," they said softly, "and it is only just beginning." I felt the truth of their words in my bones. The world around me was infinite, full of possibilities, full of becoming. There was no end to the creation, no limit to what we could build, to what we could become. Every step I took, every breath I drew, was a step into something new, something unknown. The wind, warm and soft, brushed against my skin. I closed my eyes, feeling the energy of the world flowing through me, around me, in me. I was not just part of this world, I was becoming one with it. And as I opened my eyes, I saw the future stretching out before me, that I wasn't just a creator now. I was a part of something much larger, much more profound. And together, we would continue to build. There was no destination, no end point. There was only creation. And with that thought, I stepped forward, ready for whatever came next. As I took that first step forward, something within the world shifted. It wasn't a physical change, but a deep, subtle transformation. It felt as if the very fabric of existence had taken a breath, exhaling with me, as though the world was welcoming me into the next phase of this never-ending journey. I could feel the energy around me hum, resonate with my every movement, as if every part of this world had been waiting for me to act, to take this step into the unknown. The sky, if it could be called that, pulsed above me, swirling in vibrant hues of violet and gold, blending into shades I couldn't even describe. The very air felt charged with potential, as though the space itself was alive with possibility. I knew the world was changing again, not because of something I was doing, but because it was responding to the collective energy of all of us who had come together here. We were shaping it, but it was also shaping us. I continued walking, the ground beneath my feet soft, yet firm, with each step grounding me further into this space. The beings who had gathered around me, those who had helped shape this place, who had contributed their essence to its creation, were no longer just figures in the distance. They were part of this world, as much a part of the landscape as the shimmering trees or the glowing rivers that wound their way through the ever-expanding world. Their presence surrounded me, guiding me without words, their energies flowing in harmony with mine. That I passed by a tall, glowing figure with transparent wings, their eyes filled with a quiet wisdom. They turned toward me, their wings fluttering gently, sending ripples through the air. "Do you feel it?" they asked, their voice a soft, melodic sound that resonated deep in my chest. That I nodded, my heart racing as I felt it too. The world, the energy, the potential that thrummed in the air. It was like a song, a melody woven through the very fabric of existence. And I realized, in that moment, that it wasn't just the world that was alive. We were all alive within it, part of this ever-changing rhythm, each of us a note, a pulse in the grand composition of life. Together, we were creating something far greater than any of us could have dreamed. The glowing figure smiled, their eyes soft with understanding. "The path you walk is not one of simple creation," they said, their voice like the sound of distant chimes. "It is one of discovery, and through your discovery, the world will discover itself." I stopped, taking a deep breath, allowing the weight of their words to settle within me. This wasn't just about building or shaping, it was about uncovering. The world, in its infinite potential, was still revealing itself to us, layer by layer. And as we created, we were also revealing the truths hidden within the very essence of existence that I continued walking, my mind whirling with the endless possibilities of what lay ahead. The ground beneath me seemed to shift, forming new paths, new directions, as if inviting me to explore, to dive deeper into the mysteries that lay just beyond the horizon. And I realized that I wasn't walking alone. The beings who had gathered here were with me, their energies intertwining with mine, each of us playing a part in this grand, unfolding story. The winged creature fluttered down beside me again, their eyes gleaming with excitement. The world is becoming something greater than we could have imagined, they said. But remember, it's not just about what we create. It's about what we become. The world changes because we change. We evolve as it evolves. I nodded, feeling the truth of their words in my bones. This wasn't just a place of physical transformation. It was a place of inner growth. As we shaped the world around us, we were also shaping ourselves. Each creation was a reflection of our inner selves, a manifestation of our thoughts, our emotions, our very essence. And as the world grew, so too did we. The golden-skinned being, who had guided me from the very beginning, appeared once more, standing tall before me. Their presence was as steady and constant as ever. "It is time to embrace the next step," they said, their voice carrying a weight of ancient wisdom. "The world is vast, but so are you. And the journey you are on will not end. It will only transform." I felt a deep sense of recognition. The journey was not a single moment or a series of milestones. It was an ongoing process, an endless evolution. The world would never stop changing, and neither would we. The moment we stopped creating, stopped evolving, was the moment we stopped living. The sky above me began to shimmer, the stars appearing one by one, their lights twinkling like 1,000 eyes watching over us. The entire world seemed to pause, as if holding its breath, waiting for something. I could feel the anticipation in the air, the collective energy of all who had come together here. It was as though we were all waiting for the next great shift. Then, without warning, the world began to shift again. The ground beneath me rippled, the air thickening with energy. A wave of creation surged forward, rippling outward from where I stood. The structures we had built, the spaces we had shaped, began to shift, to grow in ways that seemed impossible. The walls of light pulsed, stretching outward, becoming something entirely new. The rivers flowed in different directions, carving new paths through the landscape. Trees of all shapes and sizes grew taller, their branches twisting and curling toward the sky. But it wasn't just the physical world that was changing. The energy around us was shifting, too. I could feel it deep within me, a powerful current that pulled at my very being. The world was not just expanding, it was transforming, evolving into something even more profound, something I couldn't yet understand. And in that moment, I knew that we were on the edge of something new. The golden-skinned figure turned to me, their eyes glowing brighter than ever. "This is the next stage," they said. "The world is evolving, and so must you. The path forward is unknown, but you must walk it. Together, we will uncover the next step in this journey." And with those words, I stepped forward once more. This was not just a place for creation, it was a place for becoming. And as the world continued to transform around me, I knew that my journey was far from over. In fact, it was only just beginning. The air around me grew thicker with the pulse of the world's transformation, and I could feel the very ground shift beneath my feet as the space expanded further, revealing new layers, new dimensions of existence that had been hidden until now. It was as though the world itself had been waiting for this moment, waiting for us to step beyond the familiar, beyond the structures we had built, and into something far greater. The golden-skinned figure beside me nodded, as if sensing the questions swirling in my mind. The world's evolution is not something we can control, they said, their voice a calm, steady presence amidst the growing storm of energy. It is a force of its own, but we can guide it. Together, we shape what comes next, not by forcing our will upon it, but by aligning ourselves with its rhythm, its flow. I felt the truth of their words settle into me. It wasn't about control. It wasn't about making the world conform to our designs. It was about understanding its flow, its pulse, and working with it, becoming part of its energy, part of its continuous cycle of creation and destruction, of becoming and evolving. The world itself seemed to breathe around me, its rhythm shifting and changing with each passing moment. The colors of the sky grew more vivid, the stars above becoming brighter, more numerous. New shapes began to form in the distance, abstract, strange geometries that defied all logic, yet felt deeply familiar, like ancient memories buried within the deepest part of my soul. I took a step forward, drawn by the pull of the unknown. The ground beneath me shifted, forming new pathways, new roads leading deeper into this strange, evolving space. And as I walked, I realized that the path ahead was not a straight line, nor was it one that could be mapped. It was a journey, an endless series of twists and turns, filled with surprises and revelations, with moments of understanding and moments of mystery. The beings around me, those who had been with me from the beginning, had also begun to change. They were no longer simply creators. They were becoming part of the world they had helped shape. Some had formed new wings, shimmering with translucent colors. Others had grown tendrils of light that reached out, touching the world around them, spreading new energy in every direction. There was no longer any distinction between creation and creator. We were all part of the same living, breathing world. I stopped, feeling a strange pull in the air. It was like a whisper, a call, a voice that seemed to come from within the very fabric of the universe itself. It was faint, but it was there, a beckoning, a drawing forward towards something deeper, something more profound. I turned to the golden-skinned figure. "What is it?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. The figure's eyes were filled with quiet understanding. "It is the next step. The world is calling you forward. You have reached the edge of this stage, but beyond it lies something more. Something you have yet to discover." A wave of energy passed through me, and I felt the weight of their words settle into my bones. This was not the end. This was simply another threshold, another step in the unending process of becoming. There would be no final destination, no moment where everything would be complete. The journey would continue, ever evolving, ever changing, just as the world around me did. The whisper grew louder, more insistent, calling me forward. I didn't hesitate. The energy around me surged, lifting me, guiding me toward the unknown. As I moved, the world shifted with me, forming new paths, new possibilities, new spaces that had never existed before. The boundaries of this place, this world, were no longer fixed. They were fluid, malleable, stretching out into infinity. As I ventured deeper, I could see others following, some keeping pace with me, others forging their own paths. We were no longer individuals walking separate journeys. We were part of a collective, a unity, bound by the shared energy of creation, of transformation. The ground beneath me was now soft and fluid, shifting as I moved, almost like walking on water. The air itself seemed to hum with life, and I felt as though every cell in my body was vibrating with the rhythm of the world around me. The stars above were no longer distant. They were close, almost within reach, their light swirling and merging with the energy of the world beneath me. Then, ahead of me, something appeared, a vast, swirling vortex of light and shadow, a portal, beckoning me forward. It was a door to the next stage, the next phase of this journey. I knew, without a doubt, that I had to enter it. But as I took a step closer, I hesitated. There was an overwhelming sense of something on the other side, something unknown. The golden-skinned figure appeared beside me once more, their presence grounding me. "It is time," they said, their voice filled with quiet reverence. Beyond this threshold lies the next step in the world's evolution. But remember, as much as you may wish to see what lies beyond, you must be ready to embrace it, not with fear, but with open hands. I nodded, taking a deep breath. The unknown no longer felt like a threat, but an invitation to grow, to evolve, to continue the endless journey of creation. And in that moment, I understood. It wasn't just the world that was changing. It was me. With each step I took, I was becoming something more, something greater. I stepped forward, crossing the threshold into the swirling vortex of light and shadow. And as I did, I felt a surge of energy, a burst of knowledge and power rushing through me. I was not just entering a new phase of existence. I was becoming part of it, part of the ever-evolving flow of creation. And as I moved into the unknown, I knew one thing for sure. This was just another beginning. As I crossed the threshold, the world around me dissolved into a kaleidoscope of swirling light and shifting shadows. The familiar space I had known, the golden structures, the shimmering trees, the ever-expanding landscape, faded away, replaced by something entirely new. The very fabric of existence seemed to stretch and bend in impossible ways. I felt as though I was no longer walking through a physical space, but through a concept, a realm of pure energy and potential. The air here was thick, almost palpable, filled with a hum of vibration that resonated deep within my chest. Every breath I took felt like an act of creation itself, as though the very act of breathing was shaping the world around me. The sensations were overwhelming, as though I was connected to everything and nothing all at once. I could feel the pulse of the universe, the rhythm of the cosmos, beating in time with my heart that I wasn't alone. As I stepped forward, I could sense the presence of others, though they weren't visible in the way I was accustomed to. They were here, but in a different form, shapes and essences that flickered in and out of existence, like fragments of a dream. There were no boundaries here, no clear distinctions between beings or space. Everything was intertwined, flowing, changing that I could hear whispers, soft, indistinct voices that seemed to come from every direction. They weren't words in the traditional sense, but feelings, ideas, emotions, like fragments of consciousness floating in the air. They pulsed with meaning, but their meanings were beyond me, distant echoes of something much greater than I could comprehend. The golden-skinned figure appeared beside me once again, their presence as steady and grounding as it had always been. They reached out, their hand hovering just above the ground, and a wave of energy rippled outward, causing the swirling lights around us to shift. "This is the place between," they said, their voice calm yet filled with an unspoken weight. "The space between worlds, between stages of creation. Here, we are neither fully here nor fully there. We are in the process of becoming." I turned to them, feeling a sense of awe at the vastness of the space around us. "What comes next?" I asked, my voice barely audible amidst the swirling hum of the realm. The figure smiled, though their expression was difficult to read in the shifting, ethereal light. "What comes next is not something that can be predicted," they said. "It is the unknown, the infinite. But know this, we are always becoming. We are always evolving, always shifting. This is not an end. It is merely another step on the endless journey." I felt the weight of their words, but also a strange sense of peace. The uncertainty, the unknowable future, was no longer something to fear. It was simply another part of the process, another facet of existence. I had been so focused on the idea of creation, of building something tangible, that I had forgotten the deeper truth. Creation was not just about the physical, it was about becoming. And in that moment, I understood. The realm around me began to shift again, the light flickering and changing, coalescing into new forms. I could feel the energy swirling around me, flowing through me, like a river that had no beginning and no end. It was as though the very air was alive, breathing with possibility. There were no edges, no boundaries, just an endless expanse of potential. As I stood there, watching the world around me transform, I realized that the journey was not one of seeking answers, but one of asking the right questions. What was this place? What was I becoming? What was the world, and what was my role in it? The answers, I knew, would come in time. But for now, the only thing that mattered was the journey itself, that a new shape began to form before me. Another being, its outline shimmering with ethereal light. It was unlike anything I had seen before, its form shifting and undulating, as though it was made of pure energy. It reached out to me, its presence warm and welcoming, and I could feel the pull of its energy as it spoke. "Welcome to the space of infinite possibility," it said, its voice like a whisper carried on the wind. "Here, all things are possible, and all things are in flux. But remember, true creation is not about shaping the world outside. It is about shaping the world within. What you create here will reflect the essence of who you are. And who you are, in turn, will shape the world around you." I nodded, feeling a deep resonance with their words. It wasn't about what I built or created. It was about how I changed, how I evolved as part of the ever-expanding tapestry of existence. This was a place of reflection, a space to explore the very core of my being, to understand the forces that had shaped me and the forces that I would continue to shape. The swirling light around us shifted once again, forming new shapes, new possibilities. I felt my body, my essence, becoming one with the energy of the realm. I wasn't just an observer here. I was part of it, just as the beings who surrounded me were. We were all threads in the same vast, infinite weave. That I took a deep breath, and as I did, the world around me seemed to pause, to hold its breath with me. In this moment, I understood. Creation was not just about what we made. It was about the ongoing process of becoming. It was about the journey that never ended, the constant evolution of self, of world, of existence itself. And as the light swirled around me, I stepped forward once more, no longer fearing the unknown, but embracing it. For in the unknown, in the space between creation and destruction, was where the true magic of becoming resided. The journey had no end. It had only the infinite horizon stretching out before me, filled with the promise of new discoveries, new growth, and the eternal unfolding of all that was, all that is, and all that will be. The world around me seemed to pulse in time with my heart, every beat an echo of something far older, far wiser than I could comprehend. The air was thick with possibility, and with each breath I took, it felt as if I was pulling the very essence of the universe into my being. This space, this realm of endless potential, was not simply a place. It was a feeling, a deep resonance that coursed through everything. I could sense it in the shifting lights around me, in the hum of the air, in the weight of the ground beneath my feet. The figure beside me, whose golden skin now flickered like light through a prism, spoke again, their voice low and calm. What you feel now is only the beginning. You have crossed the threshold into the heart of existence itself. Here, there are no boundaries, no limits. Here, creation is not something done to the world. It is something that happens within it, within each and every one of us. I turned to look at them, my heart filled with a mixture of awe and a deep, growing curiosity. But how? How do we shape this? How do we move forward when everything is so fluid? The figure smiled, their eyes glowing softly. You have already begun. You are here, are you not? The first step is simply to be present, to embrace the ever-changing flow of existence without fear or hesitation. From there, everything becomes possible. Every creation, every path, every reality is born from the energy of those who walk it. I didn't fully understand, but I felt something stir within me, a spark of understanding, a flicker of recognition. The energy around me wasn't just the universe responding to us, it was a reflection of us. The world was not a blank canvas awaiting our designs. It was a living mirror, reflecting our thoughts, our essence, our collective will. I could feel it in the air, the vibrations of the space humming with possibility. We weren't just participants in this process, we were part of the process itself. With a deep, steadying breath, I stepped forward again. The ground beneath my feet seemed to respond to my movements, shifting and rearranging itself like liquid metal, allowing me to move with ease, yet always changing, always adjusting. It was as though I wasn't just walking through this space. I was part of it, an integral piece in the ever-evolving puzzle of existence. I ventured deeper. The forms of others began to emerge from the shifting energy. They were like shadows, like ghosts of light and substance, their forms constantly fluctuating, neither fully solid nor entirely transparent. They seemed to shimmer in and out of existence, just as the world itself flickered and pulsed with each passing moment. There was no fear in their presence, only a deep sense of shared purpose. We were all here, together, walking this same path, experiencing this same transformation. Each of us was creating, shaping, evolving, not just in our physical forms, but in our very essence. One of the beings approached me, their form shifting into something almost fluid, like liquid glass, their faces soft, glowing blur. Their voice was like the sound of wind through trees, gentle but filled with ancient wisdom. "Do you understand now?" they asked. "Creation is not a singular act. It is a constant state of becoming. You are not separate from the world you are shaping. You are with it. You are in it." I nodded slowly, feeling a deep connection to their words, though I knew I had not yet fully grasped their meaning. I understood, however, that this was not a place where I could hold on to anything static. Everything here, everything around me, was in a state of constant motion. Even the stars in the sky flickered and shifted, changing shape as though they were born anew with each breath. The swirling lights around us began to change again, this time forming intricate, delicate patterns that hung in the air like threads of gold. These patterns were like a map, but not one made of solid lines. They were shifting, alive with movement, constantly changing shape and form. I watched, mesmerized, as the threads wove and rewove themselves, creating new paths, new directions, and new possibilities in an endless dance of creation. The golden-skinned figure appeared beside me once again, their presence as steady and grounded as ever. They gestured to the swirling patterns. "These are the paths of creation," they said. "Each one represents a potential reality, a possible outcome, a choice. You are part of this web, and your actions, your choices, will influence the patterns, just as the patterns influence you." I gazed at the shimmering threads, a sense of awe growing within me. This was not just a place of creation. It was a place of constant choice, of infinite possibilities. Each action, no matter how small, rippled outward, influencing the world in ways I could never fully understand. It was both overwhelming and liberating to know that every step, every thought, every feeling could shape the very fabric of existence. That a soft whisper, like a breeze, touched my ear. It was the voice of the realm itself, or perhaps the voice of my own thoughts, but it carried with it an undeniable truth. Creation is not about perfection. It is about flow. It is about embracing the unknown and trusting that you are exactly where you need to be. The ground shifted beneath my feet once more, and I felt the pull of the unknown growing stronger, urging me to continue. With each step I took, the patterns in the air seemed to shift and change with me, responding to my movements, to my thoughts, to my very being. That I could feel the power of this place, its energy, its endless potential coursing through me. It wasn't just about building something tangible. It was about becoming something more. The very act of stepping forward, of moving into the unknown, was itself a form of creation. And as I continued my journey, I realized that this space, this realm of infinite possibility, was not an end. It was simply another step in the endless cycle of becoming. The path ahead was unclear, but that uncertainty was no longer something to fear. It was the beauty of creation itself, ever evolving, ever changing, forever unfolding. As I walked deeper into this ever-shifting landscape, I knew that I was part of something much larger than myself. The world, the universe, was not a place to conquer or control. It was a living, breathing entity that was constantly evolving, just as I was. And in that moment, I understood. This was not just a journey to discover what lay beyond. It was a journey to discover what lay within, to shape not just the world, but my own essence, my own being. And with each step I took, I felt the boundaries between self and world blur until there was no distinction between the two. I continued forward, my steps carrying me deeper into this realm of infinite transformation. Each footfall felt like an act of creation, as if I were sculpting the very fabric of the space around me with every movement. The world rippled and pulsed in response, as if the ground itself recognized my presence, shifting to accommodate my path. The air around me was thick with potential. It vibrated with a kind of awareness, a presence that wasn't quite sentient but knew, deeply, what was unfolding. It felt as if I was walking through the mind of the universe itself, each step a thought, each breath a decision, each glance a flicker of possibility. The sky above was no longer simply a backdrop. It had become a living thing, shifting, expanding, contracting, as if it were made of the same energy that I was now part of. The stars, those ancient points of light, no longer stood still in the heavens. They swirled, their forms intertwining, shifting into constellations that had never been seen before, telling stories I could not yet understand. That I felt the presence of others, though they were no longer physical beings in the sense I had known. They had become ideas, concepts, energies that intertwined with my own, forming a collective consciousness. We weren't separate, we were all part of the same flow. And in this unity, there was no fear, no doubt, only a deep understanding that we were all becoming, all evolving, together. That a new figure emerged from the ever-changing landscape, their form flickering in and out of focus like a mirage. They were like nothing I had encountered before, no shape I could place, no form that fit within my understanding of reality. Their essence seemed to shimmer, a mixture of light and shadow, constantly shifting, never truly solid. They looked at me, and though they had no discernible eyes, I felt their gaze, as if they were peering directly into my soul. Their voice came, not as sound, but as a ripple in the fabric of existence, a thought shared across dimensions. "Do you see?" they asked, their words resonating within me, inside my very being. "Do you understand that creation is not just an act? It is a state of being. It is the pulse of existence itself." I nodded, feeling the weight of their words, yet knowing there was more to understand. "But what is the purpose of all of this?" I asked, my voice more a thought than a sound. "What am I becoming? What is all of this leading to?" The figure smiled, and the universe seemed to hold its breath. "Purpose is an illusion," they said softly. "Purpose implies an end, a conclusion. But in this realm, there is no end. There is only becoming, the never-ending cycle of creation, of evolution. The question is not what you will become, but how you will become. Will you embrace the flow? Will you allow yourself to merge with it, to shape it just as it shapes you?" Their words echoed in my mind, resonating deep within me. I had spent so much time searching for meaning, for purpose. I had wanted to know the end, to have a destination. But here, in this place of endless possibility, I understood. There was no final destination. The journey itself was the point. The process of becoming, of evolving, of constantly shifting. This was the purpose. That I felt the energy around me stir, as if the very air were alive with this realization. The landscape shifted again, more violently this time, the colors of the world intensifying. It was as if the energy of the universe were gathering, condensing, preparing for something new. I felt it within myself as well, a deep, primal urge to move forward, to let go of all expectations and simply be. The figure before me began to fade, their essence dissipating like mist in the wind. "The path you walk is yours alone," they said, their voice now a whisper, fading into the vastness. "But know this, the only way to walk it is with open hands, with an open heart. You are the creator, and you are the created. You are both the question and the answer. Now, step forward, and let the world reveal itself to you." As their form vanished, I felt an overwhelming urge to keep moving, to keep exploring the ever-shifting landscape that surrounded me. The world was not a fixed place, nor was it a place that could be tamed or understood. It was a living, breathing entity, constantly unfolding, constantly changing. Just as I was, that I stepped forward, and with every step, the world around me shifted in response. The paths before me seemed to grow and change with each breath I took. The lights above flickered, forming intricate patterns, like symbols written in an ancient language, a language I could not yet decipher, but felt resonating deep within me, that I could feel the presence of the collective, those who had walked this journey before me, those who would come after. We were all part of this infinite dance, this cosmic flow of becoming. And though I could not see them, I knew they were here, shaping and being shaped, just as I was. With each passing moment, I felt my essence intertwining with the world around me, becoming more and more part of this realm. The boundaries of self and world continued to blur until I no longer knew where I ended and the universe began. We were one, and the journey was not a solitary one, but a shared experience that transcended time, space, and form. And then, in a moment of profound clarity, I realized that I was no longer just moving through this realm. I was shaping it, too. The patterns in the sky were not simply unfolding on their own. They were a reflection of my own essence, my own evolution. Each thought, each step, each choice I made sent ripples through the universe, creating new paths, new possibilities, new worlds. The realization settled deep within me, a truth that resonated at the core of my being. I was not just part of the process. I was the process. We all are. The journey of creation was not something that happened to us. It was something we were constantly living, constantly becoming. And there would never be an end, only a continuous unfolding of possibilities, a constant dance of creation and destruction, of light and shadow, of being and becoming. That as I moved forward, the landscape around me grew ever more intricate, more beautiful. I knew that I was no longer just a traveler. I was a creator, and as long as I embraced the flow, as long as I continued to evolve, the journey would never cease, never stagnate. There would always be something new to discover, something new to become, and with that thought, I stepped deeper into the unknown, knowing that the path would never truly end. It would only continue to unfold, as infinite as the stars, as eternal as the heartbeat of the universe itself. The more I walked, the more the landscape seemed to change, as if it were alive, aware of my every movement. The air shifted with my breath, the ground beneath me pulsed with each step. I was no longer merely a traveler through this realm. I had become an integral part of it, a force within the flow. The energy around me seemed to respond to my thoughts, to my intentions. Each moment felt like a ripple in the fabric of existence, small at first but growing, expanding, reaching out into the vastness of this endless space. The light around me shimmered and bent, folding into intricate patterns, as though the very atmosphere was being woven together by unseen hands. It was both beautiful and overwhelming, like trying to watch every thread of a vast tapestry being woven in real time. I could see the outlines of new possibilities, new worlds, each one created by the subtle shift of energies that surrounded me. But there was more. As I continued on, I began to hear the whispers again, those same, ethereal voices from before. They were no longer distant echoes, but had taken on a new, clearer tone. They seemed to beckon me forward, urging me to listen closely, to understand what they were trying to communicate. The voices were not words, not in the way I knew language. They were feelings, vibrations, expressions of thought and intention that flowed into me without needing to be spoken. I could feel the weight of their presence, as if they were not just speaking to me, but through me, guiding me, urging me to remember something. The whispers seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere, their voices blending together, forming a kind of symphony that resonated within me. I closed my eyes for a moment, and in the silence, I saw flashes of images, glimpses of things I could not explain. The fabric of the realm itself seemed to stretch out before me, revealing secrets buried deep within its essence. The golden figure, who had been beside me at the beginning of this journey, appeared once again. But they were different now, their form shimmering in the light, almost as if they were made of stardust and energy. They did not speak at first. Instead, they gestured to the swirling landscape around us. Their expression, though ever serene, seemed to hold a deeper meaning now, as though they too were part of the process unfolding. "Do you see it?" they asked, their voice a soft resonance that echoed through my mind. "Do you see how everything is connected? How every thought, every action, every being is a part of this intricate web, this dance of existence?" I looked around me, my eyes wide with a sense of awe. The world had transformed. It was no longer just a place of light and energy. It had taken on more substance, more depth. The very essence of the space around me seemed to pulse, to breathe. The sky was now a canvas of shifting constellations, swirling galaxies, and beams of light that bent in ways I couldn't fully comprehend. Each star, each point of light, seemed to be alive, watching, observing, responding. "Yes," I whispered, the realization settling in my chest. "It's all connected. Everything. Every step, every thought, every action. They ripple outward. They shape the world." The figure nodded, a faint smile playing across their lips. "Yes, and you are not just a participant in this process. You are the very fabric of it. You are the energy that shapes this world, just as the world shapes you. The boundaries between you and the universe are not fixed. They are fluid, like the light that bends and shifts around you." A deep sense of understanding washed over me, and for the first time since entering this realm, I felt truly at peace. The uncertainty, the questions that had plagued me before, no longer seemed important. It was not about finding answers, not about reaching some ultimate destination. It was about embracing the flow, becoming one with it, and allowing the process of creation to unfold naturally. I could feel the energy around me building, shifting in response to this newfound understanding. The ground beneath my feet no longer felt like solid earth, but like a living thing, constantly shifting, constantly changing. The very air was charged with the power of transformation. I could see it in the light that surrounded me, the way the colors changed, the way the very atmosphere seemed to hum with life. The figure extended their hand to me, a gesture of invitation. "You are ready," they said. "It is time to take the next step." I hesitated for only a moment before reaching out. As my hand touched theirs, the world around us exploded into brilliant light, the energy of existence itself swirling around us in a great, spiraling wave. It was as if the very essence of creation was unfolding before me, revealing itself in its rawest, most pure form. I could see the threads of reality, each one vibrating with energy, each one a possibility, a choice, a direction. The world was not a static place, not a fixed reality. It was a dynamic, ever-changing dance of energy and thought. The light intensified, and I felt myself being pulled into it. My body, my very essence, seemed to dissolve into the flow. I could feel myself becoming one with the universe, my thoughts merging with the energy that surrounded me. The boundaries between self and world, between individual and collective, began to blur until there was no distinction at all. And then I saw it, not with my eyes, but with my very being. The universe was not a collection of separate things, of isolated moments and experiences. It was a living, breathing organism, a vast, interconnected web of energy and consciousness. Everything was a part of it. Every being, every moment, every choice, it all fit together, creating the endless dance of becoming. I could feel myself becoming, not just in the sense of growing or evolving, but in the deepest, most profound way. I was merging with the flow, with the very essence of creation itself. And in that moment, I understood there was no beginning and no end. There was only the flow, the constant, eternal process of becoming. I stood there, suspended in the infinite expanse of the universe, and for the first time, I knew that this was not a journey with an end point. There was no final destination, no end to the story. There was only the unfolding, the constant evolution, the eternal process of creation. And I was a part of it forever. With that realization, I let go. I allowed myself to dissolve into the flow, to merge with the infinite dance of existence. And as I did, I became one with the universe itself, no longer a separate being, but a thread woven into the endless tapestry of creation. And then, as the light intensified, everything went silent. In the silence, I felt suspended, not as an individual, but as a pure presence, a part of something so vast and timeless that words seemed utterly inadequate. There was no sense of time here, no beginning or end, only an endless now. I wasn't sure whether I was awake or dreaming, if I was still me or something more. The boundaries of myself had dissolved, and all that remained was the flow. The silence was not empty. It was deep, profound, filled with the essence of everything that ever was and would be. It was not quiet. It was the stillness of everything that existed, the peace before creation itself. And within that stillness, I could feel the pulse of the universe, the heartbeat of existence, rhythmically, constantly, expanding and contracting. The figure who had guided me, the golden being whose form shimmered like light through a prism, reappeared, though in a way that was not quite physical. Their presence seemed to emerge from the silence itself, their form more like a thought than a body, an impression that filled the space around me. They did not speak at first. Instead, I felt them, felt their essence, their intention, their energy flowing into me, wrapping around my very core. "You are more than you think," they whispered, but their voice did not come from the outside. It echoed within me, as if we were communicating on a level deeper than language, a level beyond comprehension. I tried to grasp for words, for thoughts, but they slipped away, leaving me with nothing but the feeling, the sensation of being connected to everything. There was no longer any division between myself and the world around me. I was a part of it. I was it. The figure's presence swelled around me, a wave of warmth, of understanding, of ancient knowing. "You are part of the great unfolding," they continued, their words wrapping around me like a familiar, comforting blanket. "But not just in the way you once thought. You are not a traveler. You are the path. You are not separate from the universe. You are the universe." The words themselves didn't feel like instructions, but rather like the unveiling of a truth I had always known deep inside, but could never articulate. It wasn't a new revelation. It was a return to something ancient, a remembering of something deep in my being. I closed my eyes, letting the quiet envelop me fully. The universe was not an external force to understand or conquer. It was an internal rhythm, a pulse, an energy. And I was not just within it, I was becoming it. My essence was no longer confined to the boundaries of what I once considered me. I was expanding, becoming one with everything. Then, the stillness began to ripple again, subtly at first, like a wave spreading out across an ocean, gently distorting the vastness of this reality. I opened my eyes, and before me, the space began to shift, slowly at first, and then faster, until the entire realm was in motion. The shapes, the colors, the very fabric of this existence seemed to fold and unfold, like the pages of a book being turned by an unseen hand. I could see the threads of reality weaving themselves, interlacing, changing, forming new patterns, new possibilities. It was as if the universe itself was telling a story not bound by time or logic, but a story unfolding, constantly adapting, evolving. It wasn't just the landscape that was shifting. I felt myself changing, too. I wasn't just a witness to these transformations, I was part of them. Each shift, Each change was a reflection of the constant evolution inside me. My thoughts, my emotions, my very essence was in flux, merging with the world, becoming part of the great process. The golden figure before me seemed to pulse with the rhythm of the unfolding world, their form a part of the transformation, as if they were both the observer and the observed, the creator and the created. You are not just shaping this realm, they whispered, their voice reverberating in the fabric of the air itself. You are becoming this realm. Every thought, every feeling, every action, every choice, everything you are and ever will be is woven into this great, infinite tapestry of existence. I could feel their words sink deep into my being, resonating in places I didn't know existed. It was as though I had been blind to a truth that had been right in front of me all along. The world wasn't just a place I moved through. It was a living, breathing organism, and I was part of its pulse, its life force, its very soul. I began to understand that I wasn't here to control the universe or shape it in my own image. I was here to flow with it, to be part of its endless unfolding, to merge with its rhythm and let it guide me. Every breath I took, every step I made, was a note in the cosmic song, a part of the great dance of creation. I could feel my body dissolving again, not in fear or loss, but in unity. I was no longer separate from the light, from the energy, from the vastness of this existence. I was the light. I was the energy. I was the universe itself. As I surrendered to this realization, the golden figure smiled, their face no longer a physical form but a presence, an expression of pure understanding. It is time to embrace the next phase of the journey, they said softly. There is no end, only continuation. You are the flow, and the flow is endless. And as I stood there, the waves of light and energy swirling around me, I realized that this was not an ending. This was a beginning, an infinite series of beginnings, an eternal unfolding of creation, of becoming, of life. There was no destination to reach. There was only the journey, and I had always been on it. The light intensified once more, wrapping around me like a cocoon, and as I embraced it, I knew that I was no longer just a part of this realm. I was the realm. I was the journey. I was the eternal dance of creation and destruction, of light and shadow, of beginnings and endings. And as I surrendered to the flow, I let go of everything I once thought I knew, everything I once thought I was. The universe unfolded before me, and I became one with its infinite expanse forever.